Beer, rum, and rock and roll. Saving rock, one conversation at a time. With Randy Legault and Beau Shiminsky.
Welcome back to another episode of the Beer, Rum, and Rock and Roll podcast. We cracked the big 5-0, man. This is episode 51, dude.
Yeah, man, we now belong to that club that, you know, you in those old communities, you see the 50-plus clubs, you know, they play cribbage and stuff.
Oh, man.
We're now officially allowed to go there.
Do we get a free buffet somewhere?
I think it's going to be bologna and relish sandwiches, man. That's what it's going to be.
Oh, dude. Oh, man. Yeah, it's been a fun 51, man. And this episode is no fucking exception. We got a cool one coming up. Why don't you tell everybody what's in store here?
Oh, man, we got a special guest, brother. But before I say who that is, I'm just going to quick backstory. All right. So my studio Ear Candy got contacted by Simon & Schuster to record an audiobook. Not just any audiobook. Stephen King's new audiobook for his new book, Stephen King. Exactly. Which is coming out in August. It's called Billy Summers. And the voice of the book is none other than Mr. Paul Sparks. So that's what's happened. And just a quick shout out to Christina, the producer on this. She got this all together. Super great lady, really great to work with. And not only was she great to work with, but you, sir, were involved in this as well. You were part of the recording process.
Absolutely.
You spent a number of days with Paul, as well as I, and it was just really, really a great experience. And so if you don't know who Paul Sparks is, Boardwalk Empire, he was Mickey Doyle, Thomas Yates on House of Cards, and a lot of other great stuff that we're going to get into because obviously we have him on the show. He was also, another quick note, he was also in a band called Les the Band. So the music side comes into this conversation as well, which is very cool, and he's going to talk about that. Great guy, great actor on both theater and stage, musician, lived the life of a rock star and toured. We're going to get into all that and more coming right up.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
He's done a lot of shit. He also worked with this guy on my t-shirt, Matthew McConaughey.
Yeah.
All right. He's done a lot. Yeah. All right. Indeed. Yeah. The first time I saw him, like a lot of people, was on Boardwalk. I love that series and he was fucking great in it. I mean, it was just really cool. He's one of those guys. I don't think he would mind me saying this. He's one of those character actor guys who's not necessarily a household name. But when you see his face, you're like, oh, that fucking guy. He's good. I love that guy. You know what I mean? He's one of those dudes.
And you know, just getting to know the guy that people are going to like him. You know, he's just a likable fella, man. And he was really great to have in our room chatting it up, man. So
it really was. Yeah, it was a pleasure getting to know him, doing that book, and having him on the show. Was just fucking gravy. It was just awesome.
Yeah. Totally.
It's an interesting convo. We cover a ton of shit, like we said. So let's roll this motherfucker.
Let's get it on.
Hit it. All right, we'd like to welcome Paul Sparks to the Beer, Rum, and Rock and Roll podcast.
Hi.
He's thrilled to be here.
Wait, I am thrilled to be here, but I gotta know, like, what am I drinking? Because I'm about to taste it and find out if it's any good.
Oh, it's a Grenache. I can't say it properly, but it's
it's a Scotch, right?
It's a Scotch, 15-year-old.
Oh.
The Beer, Rum, Scotch, and Rock and Roll podcast.
Oh, that's all right.
That's all right. That's all right. Okay. All right.
You like that? Representing Wooderson.
I see.
For you geeks out there.
Very good.
Yeah.
So what brings you to Calgary, Paul?
Well, I'm here for the second time in the past 3 years, and I'm shooting a television show called Joe Pickett, which is based on some books, or a book specifically by this guy, C.J. Box, who writes about game wardens in Wyoming.
Okay.
And so I'm one of those guys.
You're one of those. Are you the warden?
I'm a warden. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
You don't have to deal too much into
I
it.
can't.
Yeah,
I can't talk about it,
Yeah.
but I do play. When is this going to come out?
A couple weeks.
Whenever you want it to come
okay,
out.
no.
Yeah.
We won't talk about it then.
Yeah.
No. So we're shooting. It's for. I think it's for. I don't even know if you guys have this channel. Do you have Spectrum here?
That does not ring a bell with me.
That does not.
Spectrum is like a cable channel. It's through Paramount, I think. So
Okay.
I don't know. It's the same guys who did a show I did called Waco, which was about the David Koresh situation.
Saw that.
And that was this was the same. It's a brothers are directing and wrote it, so it's good. It's lots of horses and
Yeah.
So is it primarily location shooting, or are you in a soundstage that we have?
No, we're mostly I've been shooting in the Kananaskis area along the Beau River.
There you go.
Oh,
look at you.
There's
Geography
fucking
boy.
bears. There's like grizzly bears.
Oh, yeah.
I'd actually gone out for a hike out there recently, and someone said, "Oh yeah, you got your
Bear horn?
They said you got your bear spray," and I was like, "Ha ha ha ha, bear spray," and they did not laugh.
Right.
How close do you have to get to use bear spray?
I don't know, too close.
fucking
I was
close.
like, "What?" My mother said, "Do you put it on yourself, or do you put it on them?" And I was like, "Hopefully, you put it on yourself because if they're that close, it's over, man.
Yeah.
It's over." So apparently there's bears and cougars,
Dude.
and all kinds of things, but I haven't seen any so far.
Oh man.
But I've been out there.
There's a lackadaisical attitude about bears in this.
Two
province.
laps.
Apparently there's been two fucking
laps.
maulings in the last couple of months.
I know.
And the first day that I went hiking, apparently there was a grizzly bear and her cubs about 4 miles away from where I was hiking.
It's dangerous when the cubs are around. Yeah.
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 And I bought some bear spray from a little old lady in where was I? No, it was because I was like, where the fuck do you get bear spray?
Yeah.
And I would ask, and they were like, no, we don't have it. But then there was a little, like, I don't know, one of those little, just side of the road. Is there a place called like Bragg
Creek.
Bragg Creek, right?
Yeah.
So there's a little
outpost.
Yes, there's a little outpost. These are words we don't use that often in the East Village.
I was going to fill your
East
voice.
Village,
Yeah.
And she said, "Oh yeah." She said, "Yep. They're out and they're angry this year." She said they're very cantankerous this year, and it was like $80.
Yeah. Oh, they
And
get
I was
you.
like, "I could just buy a fucking gun."
Yeah.
And she was like, "Well, you could do that too."
Just back to the bear and the lackadaisical thing.
Yes.
Kananaskis.
Yeah.
There's a golf course out there.
Oh yeah, beautiful one.
Right? That I was playing on, and we were on the second hole, and all of a sudden this pickup truck starts driving towards us down the fairway as we're on the tee box. And we're all standing there going, what's going on, right? Speaking of wardens, there's a warden in this truck, and he goes, gentlemen, just stay on the tee box.
Don't be alarmed, but
There's a bear in the area. And he says, just hang tight. And then about 2 minutes later, we're hearing all these dogs barking.
Oh no.
And he's like, don't worry about it. That's the Karelian bear hunting dogs. We're just releasing them to chase the bear up the mountain.
Right.
And a few minutes go by, dogs get closer. We're like, he says, okay, you guys are ready. You can go. And we're like, well, where's the bear? And he goes, oh, about 40 meters that way.
Too close.
We're crazy, right?
Yeah.
And I asked, or I didn't ask. I think he just said, we know the bear. This is his attitude. The bear hangs out at the campground, is what he says.
they go where the food is. Yeah.
So they know the bear hangs out at the campground, but it's like, it's okay. Just stay on the fairway,
Fuck
boys.
that.
And if the ball goes into the trees, don't go get it.
Yeah.
But I'm like, I wanted to leave right there and then because I have no faith.
They could
in
run
bears.
40K or something.
Yeah.
Like they look like you
it's
give them a
over.
hug, but this is not happening.
It's not good.
And it's such a shame because they're cute.
That's the problem.
They're cuddly.
Bears, they're like
Cuddly.
the way they walk, like when they walk away,
Yeah.
they're like round, they're like they're like, oh,
put a little honey on your hand.
The ass just sways as they walk.
like they're as vicious and as horrifying as sharks by a long shot, but we're terrified of sharks. But not.
That's a good point.
But not
because they look scary. Yeah.
Yeah, but not bears.
The ocean, you bring that up, but the ocean, because you don't see what's under it, it seems like that's
freaky as fuck.
Even more freaky for me, It's just no time for that.
I feel like it's been ruined. The Jaws movie has single-handedly ruined the ocean. For me, I just scan, my kids are in the water and I just sit and I'm like Chief Brody just scanning.
What a great movie.
Just scanning for dorsal fins.
Oh, yeah. I bet you I've seen that movie without exaggerating a couple hundred times.
I just watched it about 3 weeks ago.
Oh, dude.
That's great.
It's so good.
Yeah.
It really
even the
is.
shitty shark, I don't even care. I just love it.
Well, that whole story of how the shark didn't work. And
that's right.
And so they spent all this time in, I don't know where they were, fucking Nantucket or that other place that they all go. And they were there for months.
Yeah.
And apparently, Dreyfus and Shaw hated each other. And they're drunk. They're all drunk all the time. They're rewriting the script. But that's one of the reasons it's like a piece of art, that movie.
Oh, yeah. Spielberg, he was hanging by a thread. All he'd done was Duel. Remember Duel, the truck?
Oh, no.
The truck thing? Do you remember that?
Oh, wait. Is it where... Wait,
it's Dennis Weaver. And he's getting stalked by a guy in an 18-wheeler.
Oh, yeah.
Do you remember that?
I mean, I have a vague...
it's really good. It holds up, dude. But
I think
basically,
I
Jaws
that,
is that truck.
Right.
Like, it's a complete translation.
You don't see who's driving it, nothing. You just see the lights, right?
You don't
Mainly
see the guy
lights
at all.
Pull up. Yeah, right.
And you hear what he's thinking and shit?
Yeah.
Oh, dude.
Yeah, I remember.
Randy's like the best person to have, isn't he? Because he knows all the names.
Useless knowledge, dude.
But any subject, right?
Well,
so I watched a couple of episodes.
Oh, you were snooping around.
Just a little bit of snooping.
Nice.
Just snooping around.
That's why he's here.
No, I need to see for myself.
Yeah.
I have to say that, I'm so glad I'm in the room because I like that. I saw the first couple of episodes. I really do want to talk about the Greta Van Fleet thing.
Excellent.
I want to talk about it just because my son and I have had this same conversation. My son plays guitar, so I want to drag it up and talk about it a little bit. But what I've noticed is that Randy knows everything, everyone's name.
Yep.
Everyone. Who I did a movie with here in Canada. I did a movie with what's his name? His daughter just won an Oscar. She's blonde. Bruce Dern.
Oh, yeah.
So
Laura Dern, yeah.
Bruce Dern has a mind like Randy's. Remembers every name of everything, where he did it, when it happened, who was there, what street it was on, what the door looked like.
Oh, yeah.
Who came in, was it their cousin or their aunt? We were standing around and, we're in Hannah, which is a couple hours in
north,
some direction, that direction.
Yeah.
Out in the middle of nowhere. And people are sitting around and they're talking about hockey or something. And someone's like, oh, I love this. I don't know who it was. Oilers. I love the Oilers in 1978. Bruce Dern's like, oh yeah, this guy and this guy and this guy and this guy was on the front. They were in the first group that came out, and then there was this guy. He knows everything. Very, very interesting dude. Also, ultra marathoner, has run over 100,000 miles.
Wow.
Was on the cover of Runner's World
Didn't know
times.
that. He's an amazing actor. I know that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I chalk it up to the marijuana where my memory is about
It's a little short term.
4 hours.
I can't. That's not even my excuse. I can't remember anything. If you ask me, so Paul, who was in this show that you're doing? I vaguely know most of their first names. I don't know who's on it. David Alan Greer is in it.
Yeah.
Oh,
so I know him.
I like him.
Who else? Michael Dorman. I know his name. He's from New Zealand. He's the lead guy. Who else? The guy named Mustafa Speaks. He's very good. There's a girl named Juliana Gill, I think. See, it gets quieter.
Yeah. Yeah, the mic's still on though. It's picking you up perfectly, like, just so you know.
Like my ability to recall names like Trading Post, it's just not at my fingertips. You know?
Right.
Yeah, me neither, man. It's like I'm a hey man.
Yeah.
I'm terrible with
my
names.
Safe thing.
Terrible
it's
with names.
Totally safe for me because
brutal.
Yeah. But yeah, that's why Randy's here.
Well, I've been listening to music since I was fucking grade 7.
But you know what?
I'm into movies.
But that's
hardcore.
not enough. There's something going on inside your brain, which is making you recall all these things that we don't have. And
I'm liking this.
Are you microdosing on mushrooms right now? Because
it's
do you see
DDT?
it as like a list? Is it like a list in your mind? Is it like when someone brings something up, you just go, "Oh yes, that was 1974."
It's not a list. That's a good question.
Or like how does it? Like, what's the memory process? As a person who memorizes lines, and I can memorize lines, but I can't memorize anything else. But where is it?
See, that fascinates me.
Because for me, it's. I can see it on the page. I can see the book. Like, I see all the writing on the book. I see where other people's stuff is. I see the space. I take a picture of
photographic kind of thing.
Well, I don't know, but a little bit.
Yeah.
It's like I can see where it's at. Like, I know, like, it fucks me up when they change like the spacing of the script and they show me that it's in a different place. But how do you remember names? Because I feel like I'm like reaching into a dark bag of like empty tiles and sort of
I've
like
never been asked that before. But like, how do you remember a whole fucking play? I could never do that. That's a different thing.
And live, like, no retakes.
I couldn't do that.
But you know what it is we rehearse for 5 weeks. I mean, I promise you, maybe you wouldn't, you have to do a little bit extra, but if you go in and you say the same fucking words every day for 8 or 9 hours a day, and then you attach it to a movement or an action or like an emotion or like whatever it is that you're doing. Like, if you attach those things together, they become. It's not just like memorizing pi or something. It's like muscle memory,
right?
And so you get it. You lock into these like movements, and that's part of the process of memorizing a play. I mean, television and film is great, but it's a little more like, fuck.
Well,
I just gotta remember this. You know what I mean?
And stand on the X. But
a play is you go in and you attach it. It becomes attached to how you feel while you're saying it. And to me, it doesn't feel like memorizing per se once I'm doing it. So there's like a 2-week period where we're trying, or 3-week period where you're really trying to memorize stuff. And that feels a little difficult. But then once you get past this thing where you can get through it, it's just in there. Now it'll go away. Like occasionally people go up. They'll be on stage and they'll just fucking
out. Really?
They'll go and they get this look.
Oh my God.
And you're like, oh yeah, he's gone. He has no idea.
Feed him the line.
He has no line. Right. Oh no, but we're professionals. We don't feed lines. We got to work our way out of it. Like, you don't know what to do. Like, what do we do? And that's also, like the whole audience, they feel the heat that like suddenly is created. It's one of the, speaking of fuck COVID, it's like one of the things that I miss the most.
Absolutely.
It's like, I mean, it's the same playing a concert. You know what I mean? Like being in the room. There's no substitute for people crammed together, like exchanging energy with each other. It's just not. Yeah. It's like there's nothing else that does it, and there's no way to do it socially distanced. Because if you put space between people, for instance, like if you're doing a play, like I've done comedies before, they're supposed to be really funny, and they'll be so funny in the room, and it's funny. And you go and perform it on the stage, and there's, say, a 10-foot space between the front row and because you're doing it at some shitty place in West Virginia or something, where there's like a big space between the front row and the front of the stage, and every joke will just fucking die right in that pit where there's no people. Yeah. But if you can cram people, it's like a rock show. Right. When the crowd is like up there, everything you do, it just goes right through them and all the way to the back. I like small theaters. I've done Broadway, but I like tiny theaters where people are crammed in, and it feels like we're like doing something. Everybody's responsible. Like nobody gets off. Nobody's like sitting in the back, like kind of half listening. Yeah. It's like if you're in there, you're like in there. Like things can happen, and I think that's like the sort of utopia of performance or being an actor or whatever, for me anyway.
You ask a lot of musicians, like they'll say that I prefer to play in a small packed club than see the wall of people. I mean,
except for the dough.
Except for the dough. There's that. But even then, if they don't need the dough, it's like,
oh yeah.
There's the sweat both. And the heat and the energy, and it's not because of the lights. It's because of the people.
Absolutely.
Right?
No, it's all about. I mean, look, it's about the dough. I mean, that's what you do. But like, actually, television and film is it's kind of the opposite process, because actually, the camera people, the crew, the director, everybody, they don't give you anything. They're actually trying not to be in the film.
Right.
They can't laugh.
Yeah.
They can't respond. They can't exhale.
Mm-hmm.
They can't breathe. They can't fucking cough.
Yeah.
Right. People are like turned away. And here you are. I mean, God, I don't do a lot of comedy, thank God. I don't know how the fuck they do it. When I've done comedies before, it's like you fucking say the greatest joke of all time, and it's just to death.
Crickets.
And to me, it's like it's a really tough part of, doing film and television, like going from doing a lot of theater live in the beginning of my career to going and doing a lot more film and television. You have to really get used to it. You have to find that energy, just like with your scene partner.
Yeah.
Because it's not available anywhere else.
Well, speaking of finding energy, all
right, go on.
Yul Brynner, let's say, did fucking King and I how many times? How do you do that? How do you get up for that 1,000 times or whatever the hell he did there? Like, that's amazing to me.
I'm not going to tell you that there aren't moments in a long run, where you aren't like, if I say this,
I like your honesty.
One more time. Like I'm gonna lose my mind. But I will say this: it's one of these things where it's like, where it's bad is right before it starts. Once it starts, it's not you. It's all new. Even if you've done it a million times, it's all new because the audiences are different. What that person opposite you is doing is different.
Right.
It's like, even if they're not, I've known some people who do exactly the same performance over and over and over again. And yet at the same time, there's something about it. It just hits you different. You're something good happened in your day, something bad happened in your day, somebody yelled at you on the subway. All these things go with you.
Right.
And then once it starts to roll, it's rolling. You have to get on in some capacity.
Right.
And once it's rolling, I don't find it to be. I think it's a joy. It really is. I can do it. I can do it and 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 do it.
This is so similar to music, right? Like imagine Steven Tyler singing "Dream On" for the fucking 5,000th.
I mean, don't you feel?
And he sings it like it's the first time every night. God, I'm getting goosebumps. It's the same type of thing, right?
I think that's what it's got to be. I'm sure that there are songs that they do that they're like, fuck this song. I mean, you know what I mean? Like, that they're like, I hate this song. They love this song. Me. Like, I hate this song. But we gotta play this. We gotta play this song again. But like, as a person from the theater who's done a little bit of music, the process of like going through a song. Now my band wasn't very good, so it was always kind of an adventure when we would play a song, but it's the same. It's that same thing. And even when it sucks, even when it's bad, like it's something, and I think that, it makes a lot of sense to me. Like, it makes a lot of sense how those guys can go out and just like, still be burning up that same fucking song from 1975.
And they're not faking it. You can see it. You can see if somebody's going through the motions, because I've seen it.
Yeah. Well, that's a band that lasts.
Second, right?
Yeah. Like these bands that have stood the test of time,
Absolutely.
They're just a different cloth. But
and they
again,
don't need the money.
But they're doing 2 years.
That's right.
You know, it's not a 6-week or 6-month run.
That's right.
It's 2 years, same plane, same.
Like, look, I don't know. Those people out there,
Same hotel.
the people at fucking Cats, you know, they may be all like about to dangle, you know, in the dressing room.
Right on,
you know what I mean? Like, I don't.
7 lives, fortunately.
I don't.
9, isn't it?
Or 9. Right. What am I talking about? 7 deadly sins. Yeah, go.
But I think you know, it's one of those weird things. I mean, but it's like a weird thing to be attracted to, like as a person, like to enjoy that kind of stuff.
Right.
You know, there's a lot of actors I think that probably like to be famous or they like to make money or whatever that are successful. I mean, there's not that many that actually make any money or are famous, but of them, there's probably some that like that's really what it's about for them. It's just about fucking Instagram and, you know,
we know who they are.
Yeah.
I assume. Mm-hmm. But, you know, for a few of us, like, I really like doing it. Mm-hmm. Like, I just like it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
you know,
you could tell.
Yeah. I like to do it. You know, it's fun to do it. I mean, even when we were doing the book on tape.
Oh, yeah.
Which, I got to be honest, I walked into that guy and I like the first day, I was like, I'm fucking doing this. This is this is too hard. Like, I don't know what I'm doing. This is too hard. This is not going to be good. Like, I'm not built for this. Like, this is not my, I'm way out of my league. But, you know, as the time went on, I started to kind of enjoy like becoming those people and doing those things, and in spite of myself, you know, and sort of in spite of my insecurities about like what was going on and whatnot. It's just because, you know, it's fun to like feel those feelings.
But it's also something about the fact that was an unknown for you too, which always is kind of invigorating and inspiring, scary. All the emotions that you'd feel the first time you were on a stage or first time you're in a theater or whatever. It really does affect some endorphins in you that just kind of spark your whole being, right? Which is I think a miss in a lot of people on the planet. You know what I mean? So fortunate enough to be able to have those experiences and kind of challenge yourself in those ways, because most people run quickly, you know, to comfort zone, you know.
It's easy. Yeah.
Yeah.
But I think you do get a little bit addicted to it. It's
sure.
There's I mean, I don't get as nervous or as fearful nowadays as I used to. However, you know, it's still in there. You know, the drug still does. I had to take I have to shoot a lot of bags, but it's like, but I can still feel it. And there is a certain amount, like a skosh of like pure terror and kind of, I don't know if this is going to work.
Yeah.
Like, I don't know how this is going to go.
Yeah.
People may just look at you and like, you know, in a way that is humiliating. But they also may cheer for you. And I think that you get really like, you know, I think like musicians, I think, you know, like professional athletes, people like probably who fought, you know, in like, I don't know, I don't want to compare it to like people who fought in wars, but I do think there is this kind of fight or flight thing that occurs.
Right.
You go pure lizard brain, you know, like you have no choice because, and I think I'm interested in that, like as like what it does to me, and I miss it when I don't get to do it.
I have an acting question for you.
Okay.
So you're in your trailer. It's hurry up and wait. I know how this works. So you're in your trailer for a few hours, and Paul, they want you on set, and off you go, and then you got to stand there where they fuck with the lights for a while and do this and that, and then they go action, and you got to fucking be that guy, whether it's Mickey Doyle or whoever the fuck it is, like that. How do you do that? How does that? I'm fascinated by that. Like, you're just in your trailer 1 minute, and the next minute, on a fucking dime, you got to do that. Like, I mean, it's called acting, Randy.
Well, you know, I think it's different. I think it's different for everybody. You know, I have friends that they never leave character. They fucking stay in character all the time. And, you know, truthfully, those are the stories that most people hear about. You know, they hear about don't talk to him or, don't.
Right.
He's in a closet, like listening to
that's a scary
like death
thing,
metal.
actually.
Like, I don't know what, I don't know what's going on. Don't call him, only call Mr. Day Lewis by his, only call him Mr. Lincoln.
He's so good though.
Like don't wear modern shoes or talk about modern issues. Let's stay in the 1860s. And I'm down. I've been with people who do like that. That's not how I work.
Right.
For me, I think acting is, especially on film and television, which is much more difficult in a way for me than theater, because theater, there's like a through line, it's long, you can just kind of stay in there. It's not a big deal. You've really rehearsed, so you know it usually a little bit better than you do on film and television.
Right.
But for me, it's all about finding a way to be comfortable. I would think it would be similar to like playing a guitar solo or something. It's like if you're nervous, you can't play it.
Right.
You know what I mean? To me, it's very similar. I'm trying to figure out how to be comfortable, how to be relaxed, so that, from my acting school days, what you call it, like kind of being in a place that's sort of like neutral, where anything can happen. You can sort of do anything. You sort of can be anything. Because if you watch like a little kid, they switch and flip around and pretend and are totally believable at all times.
Right.
And I think that, like, for me, I think that the characters that I play, depending on who you are, like Mickey Doyle, you say, for instance.
Which was awesome, by the way.
Yeah, fantastic.
Mickey. Oh, Mickey.
There you go.
You're so fine. You're so fine. You blow my mind.
Sweet Mickey. They tried to fire him, like, probably. There were many discussions about that portrayal.
I'm glad you won.
But, for me, Mickey, there are qualities about him. He's a very bold kind of guy. He thinks everything's funny. So it was not uncommon for me, like, on set. I'm pretty good humored on set. I like to laugh. I like to be relaxed. So I bring a sort of energy that's in the world of where I'm at.
Right.
But, it doesn't always work that way. I find that if I feel comfortable with what's going on, I can just turn it on anytime. And if I've done the work, if I've like spent time learning about who the person is and like what the scene's about, and I know my lines, like these very like sort of any monkey can do things, you have to just go in and like sit down and like figure out who you are and what you are doing and how you feel about what's going on. It sounds simple, but you'd be surprised how many people don't do that kind of thing. And so, if you do those things, then for me, it really becomes about trying to relax while 100 people in camera are like pointed at you. Yeah. And they're like, start here and like, no, go back 2 lines. And then like the person you're across from doesn't know their lines, or they keep stopping and they're saying the wrong line, or they won't step on their spot, or, there's all sorts of obstacles. Mm-hmm. So it's really important that you can go with the flow, do all the technical things that you're supposed to do, and just kind of be open to whatever happens in the scene. So, for me, I find that if I really try, like if I'm really going to try hard, like
jump higher,
as like, what is it? The more you squeeze your fist, the more I shall slip through your fingers. Mm-hmm. Right. You know what I mean? Like I can't get a hold of what it is that I'm trying to do. I look like I'm trying, and I've always believed that, I don't watch myself very often, so I don't really pay attention. But I've always wanted to be a person that. It wasn't about me, the actor. It was about, like, oh, that's just what that guy's like. Mm-hmm. Like that's the sort of Zarathustra of my want, my aspiration is that they go, oh, he's just like that.
Yeah.
That's just, they found some dude who's like, hey, what are you
perfect for the role.
Exactly. You know what I mean? That's just like that.
Yeah.
Or that, sometimes people have said, like, you don't do anything. Like you play a character and they're like, that guy doesn't do anything. He's not doing anything. And to me, this is a conversation we have about Broadway as well. Like, people love Broadway because it's like big and flashy.
Sure.
Mm-hmm.
And people say, well, they pay $180 and they want to see you fucking sweat. They want to see you work. They want to see you chew the scenery up. They want to see you go bonkers. They want to be like, man, that girl was going crazy on stage. But I've always been a big fan of the people that just have somehow have cracked the code of that character that they're playing, and they just are. And they can do things that there's never a wrong note, but you can't tell that the actor is working. Because when I watch what I do, all I see is lies.
Right.
That's interesting.
That's all I see. When I watch like Mickey Doyle, I'm like, I know what I'm doing then. Oh my
I know how much I prepared for that.
Yeah,
but shit, I don't know.
That was hard.
Yeah.
And there's a guy laying on the ground holding a microphone up. I know it's all fucking lies to me. So I don't watch it. But I think that I want to disappear. I want to like change my DNA. I want to like look different. I want you to not be like, oh, there he is again doing that thing he always does. And maybe I don't always succeed, but it's not for lack of trying. What I'm trying to do, and when the role offers it, when the role is like such that you can really turn into somebody else, like Mickey Doyle was, like that's just lucky. And you get to do a lot more of that kind of stuff in the theater. I mean, I play a lot of fucking boring people on TV. I mean, let's be honest.
Okay. Let's be honest, kids.
I agree 100% with what you're saying. Like, I love Al Pacino, but I love that kind of acting. But I also just as much love what you're talking about. The lower key performance can be just as powerful. Absolutely.
There are people out there who are doing stuff, and you don't necessarily think of them as like the kind of these amazing, like, if I have a bone to pick with somebody like Daniel Day-Lewis, it actually doesn't have anything to do with the work that he does. I mean, obviously he's a genius and he does just outstanding work. But why do we have to hear about all the other shit?
Yeah.
Like, why?
That's so true.
That he lives down the street, that he like can't do this, that you can't say anything. Like, why don't we have to hear about it? It's like
we never used to though.
It's like a part. It's like a part of it. It's like a part of the persona. It's like we go to and it's like, oh wow, he's fucking gone cuckoo on this one. Wouldn't it be great if he just showed up and just did all that and never talked about it? Yeah. That I'll never. I've just ruined my relationship, with him. He'll never ask me on set. But I feel like he's so good that he ought to be able to just do it. And I don't want to hear about it. I just feel like all that stuff it's like inside baseball that I know people love it and they want to hear it. Yeah. But I fucking wish it was a secret. That's why I hate all this like Twitter and stuff like that. Like it's like my life. Like, I feel like the more people know about what I care about, who I love, like what my political views are, whether I'm straight or gay, all this stuff. Like when people know all that shit, they bring all that shit with them to the show. And you have to spend the first 30 minutes of the show just trying to like get through that. Mm-hmm. It's much better to be unknown. It's much better to be, I think we owe it to the audience to be a little secretive about who we are.
And not to keep picking on Daniel Day-Lewis, but I'm fascinated, I will admit, by a process of somebody like that. Mm-hmm. because he's not a media whore. Like, he's not on talk shows.
No, not
at all.
No.
So that's cool.
Right.
Just to defend him a little bit. But his process, though, whether it's Christian Bale losing all that weight and stuff and what he did, he ate an apple and a can of tuna a day. I do find that kind of interesting, I will admit. I don't care about his personal life, but his process is interesting.
I mean, look, I'm just like you. Like, I'm just as interested.
Yeah.
You know, I think it's fascinating that like what people do.
Yeah.
You know, like when they do stuff. But maybe it's because I don't do that kind of stuff, and so I have like a grudge against it or something.
Sure.
But it's like,
That ain't me. So I'm running.
No.
Yeah.
like I was telling a joke before I did that scene where I cried. You know what I mean? Like, you know, that like I had a blast. But I somehow I feel like they're just they're different things.
Right.
And we've made them one thing.
Yeah.
You know, it's one of the things that's going on in like our society right now, which I think is it's complicated. Who we are, what we believe, like what our status as human being is.
Oh, how many likes?
I was just going to say that.
It's just
how
so
many likes did I get today?
It's like part of your performance. And I don't think that's the way it should be. I mean, what can I do? I mean, it's what it's become. But you know, we didn't know shit about actors a long time ago. It was like we found out Rock Hudson was gay like 60 years after he was dead.
Yeah. Kiss should have never taken the makeup off.
Well, Gene Simmons should never done that reality show.
Right.
Well,
Sucked the
did you see? What about Metallica? I mean, what happened? I mean, look,
that was
how
tough.
much did you enjoy it? How much did you love the guy in the guy in the sweater?
Argyle sweater.
How much did you love it when they talked about the fact that they weren't going to do guitar solos anymore, and their guitarist is like, but that's like that's all I do. like you know that process. But is it good for us? Is it good for us to know that about them? Is it good for us to like be listening to like one and like you know,
there's no mystery, man.
And then be thinking about like how just intense Lars Ulrich is. Like, you know what I mean? Like it's like, I don't know. You have to like,
well, as a super fan of that band, for example, it's both. Like I want to see behind that curtain really bad, but then once you do, you don't really want to. Like it's a double-edged sword for me, man.
For sure.
Meeting your heroes.
I'm watching that.
Yeah.
And I'm fascinated, but at the same time, I'm like, oh, fuck, they're just spoiled fucking rock stars and this and that.
And it's hard when you get tainted.
Lars is selling his multi-million-dollar art collection.
Yeah.
You know. Yeah.
Or they're just human.
Right.
Exactly.
They're basic. Yeah. You know what I mean? Like, I worked with a person who's extremely famous, who will remain nameless.
Sure.
But what I was so amazed by when I met him, because he's lived a pretty caustic kind of existence, was just what a normal, like kind of a basic person that he was. He has an enormous talent, but he is also just kind of like, he's a numbskull. You know what I mean? And I was like, wait a second, what is happening here? Mm-hmm. I don't understand this. Like, and to me, that's part of, you know, what we do. We do, there is a kind of ephemeral fairy dust, you know, that like exists in our business. Mm. And I mean in the entertainment business. In the like, there's some foolery going on.
Yeah, there's some smoke and mirrors, man.
There is.
Yeah,
and that's what, and I think that, you know, what it becomes, maybe what it has become, is that just because society has decided that we're going to see what you had for lunch and where you are at all times and what your children look like and all the strange opinions you have about everything that happens.
Yeah.
Just because we've decided that that's what we're going to do, it doesn't mean that it is good for what it is that we do.
I agree. I'm not an Entertainment Tonight guy. I don't give a shit about any of that. I just want to see the performance and know how they got there. That's
I mean, there's a lot of, like you like to get the information, get the peek behind the curtain.
Sure.
Know. But I find that when you get the look into something that you don't want, it wrecks all that came up to that point.
Right.
And it takes a lot more effort to clear that from you than it is. And it just really, it's really negative. And the whole process, this kind of curve we've been on since information became easily acceptable from a phone that's in your pocket all day long, 24 hours a day. You can't hide from anything, especially if you're a celebrity in entertainment, film, doesn't matter.
Yeah.
It's numb to it. And it's just asking for more and more, and it never ends. And that's going to cause problems. You know, it is. It's obviously.
I just think that I think what it's done is it's created like a kind of, not that there's some great B-sides out there, but it's created kind of a B-side culture. There's like this, like, look, the point, in my opinion, of art is to like transport people to a kind of another level. Like that's the aim.
Right.
That's the thing we're all reaching for. I want to do something, whether it's, I want to do something that's so dramatic or it's so good or it's so transportive that you just go, wow. Like that's what we want. And that happens like 0.003% of the time.
Mm-hmm. But that's your aspiration.
Right. But that is what we're reaching for.
Yeah.
Like as artists, when we sit in our rooms and we try and figure out how to write scripts, because where I come from in the theater, in film and television, it all starts with like the idea, the story. Like the actors we're vessels. We go and we work on things in an effort to like move this story forward. It's the same when you're writing music. It's like you're trying to write this lick. You're trying to make this thing happen that is going to like inspire. No one knows how it happens, where it is. There's certainly people down in Nashville right now like writing their asses off, their little rooms happening everywhere, and most of them are failing.
Yeah.
Most of them are failing. It doesn't mean there isn't a lot of good stuff, but most of them are failing at that idea of like transforming, like commenting on society, like reaching for the stars. It's really what we're trying to do. Well, at least that's what I think.
Absolutely.
That's what I think art is like about. It's about, sort of like proposing an existence that is above, in this sort of harmonious area above humanity. Mm-hmm. It's not humanity. It's like even when we show kitchen sink, like this is what life is really like. We're not really showing what life is really like. We're trying to make people like see something in a sort of euphoric, like philosophically like grandiose way. That's like what we're trying to do. And all this human stuff about who I like and who I date and am I getting a divorce and this is my kids and this is where I eat dinner and this person is cool and I like, the Yankees. Like to me, all that stuff is just people stuff. Mm-hmm. It's not art stuff.
Absolutely.
And so I see a world that is I see the not art stuff as they always are. It's the suits. When I was first starting out, it was like, fuck the suits. Who gives a shit what the suits say? I'll change this line if
I'm an actor, god damn it.
If this line needs to be said, we'll fucking change it. You know what I mean? Fuck the suits. And that's what it was about. It's like the suits in LA. They don't know what they're doing. It's they're a bunch of businessmen. They're running it through their, like, fuck those people. They're trying to stop us. We're the ones that know what's here. Or the audience is like, we don't like this. This is scary. We're not ready for this. And we're like, fuck you. We know we're the artists. Like musicians are like, writing albums that are like changing humanity. And at first there's a lot of people who have a lot of opinions about where we're going. But I think the artists get to decide where we're going. Yeah. I don't think
that's not happening.
I don't Well, it's much harder to do now.
Yeah, 100%.
And look, I think people get really upset about this kind of stuff, but I don't believe in, I don't believe in.
Careful.
What are those rooms where people watch things and say how they feel about it? What's that called?
Oh, not screen test.
It's called something. It's like it's like Outpost. It's a
test
group. Something
focus group.
Focus group.
Right.
Yeah.
I don't believe in focus groups.
Oh, dude, tell me about it.
I don't believe in that kind of stuff.
They changed the ending of the movie because they screened it in front of these fucking 50 people. Are you kidding me?
Right.
Yeah.
Who are these 50 people?
I understand where they're coming from. It makes a lot of sense. And if you're an accountant, I get it.
Yeah.
That that's where you come from. But, I'm not a writer, but I know some really, really good ones. And where they are, like what they write about, what they do, the rest of us, we don't understand what they're doing. They're doing it. They understand it. And they're writing about it, and they're changing things.
Absolutely.
You know what I mean?
And they're demanding that
Right.
it not be affected that way.
Right. And I think that all this stuff that's posing as entertainment, it's posing as art.
Mm-hmm.
It's like art light.
Mm-hmm.
It poses as it. It confuses us because we watch it on TV just like we watch The Sopranos. And so we think The Bachelor is
I don't.
Well, you may not, but some people do.
Right.
You know that's all fake, right?
And it's not what we're doing. And so when I see someone, to bring it back to Daniel Day-Lewis,
Yes.
who brings with him, because it's true, he doesn't do any stuff, but everybody knows his business. Mm-hmm. How does that happen? I don't know. I mean, I do know this. You don't get famous in this business unless you decide you want to be.
Absolutely. Dude, I have said that
And if
before.
anybody is selling I'm sure there have been a couple, that were cause celebs that they got involved in a shitty situation, and they caught a foul ball at a Cubs game, and then suddenly their lives were ruined. Yes.
Yeah.
That's another
That's
story.
crazy. Yeah.
It happens.
Absolutely, man. Yeah.
But people are famous. You work at it.
Yep.
Mm-hmm.
This is not.
You can get away from it.
Oh,
absolutely,
you
dude.
sure,
I'm glad you said that.
You sure
I
can.
always say that.
You got it's a real thing that I don't totally understand because, for instance, Kurt Cobain, I he's my, we're the same, same age, same.
Yeah.
I thought he was just so special,
Right.
and was destroyed when he died. I've watched interviews with him. I think he's a really interesting cat. He's he's way ahead of his time. Clearly totally fucked up, but way ahead of his time. I wonder what he would have said to this idea that the reason he died, the reason he killed himself, had to do with the fact that he couldn't handle the fame, that he didn't actually want the fame.
Man, you're in the wrong line of work then, aren't you?
Yeah, but I think that's a common, misconception or conception.
I think that Kurt, he wanted it.
Yep.
I think he did want it.
It may not have
been good for him, but I think he did want it.
Absolutely,
and I think people in
dude.
this business that are famous, they fucking want it.
I'm
if
glad
you think
you said
Daniel
that.
Day-Lewis doesn't want to be famous, you're insane.
Yeah.
You do not win Academy Awards. You're not the lead in the movie. You don't unless you want to be.
Yeah.
And everybody who's famous wants to be.
Yep.
Or has some itch that they're scratching. With it.
Yeah, they did the everything that was big up to that point, was killed by grunge because of Nirvana.
Mm-hmm. Right.
They're doing something different. They're getting all the attention, and it went on for a while. It's just what's amazing about it is that even just last week, there's still conversations with Courtney and Grohl, and I mean,
They're still fighting it.
Oh yeah, no, I saw a thing where Grohl and
Yeah.
what's his name, Nova,
that chick?
Nova.
Yeah, it's something
It's
like
long.
Nova-
They still get together. They still get together and
they
play.
do.
Yeah.
They're still buds.
Yeah.
The other guy too. What's that guy's name? There's another
Pat
guy.
Smear.
that. Pat Smear.
Yeah. There you go.
Just ask Randy.
Ding, ding, ding.
Oh, Pat.
But you know what? To kind of come back to what you said about the famous guy that was a schmuck or whatever.
Yeah.
I don't know what percentage of talented people are that. I don't know. But I know a guy who's good friends with Bruce Springsteen.
Okay.
So I met him and the whole 9 yards. And before I met him, he's telling me, oh, he's just he came over for Super Bowl. He's just a regular dude.
Yeah.
Like, no, he's not.
He's
like, I know he's a regular dude. I know he puts on his pants one leg at a time.
Yeah.
But I believe there are people who are extraordinary. And I think somebody like him is. He's extraordinary at that.
Yeah.
I do believe that. Like, I just think he's.
I think that there's a group of people like Mr. McConaughey is a person that
I'm a fan.
Is an example of this. I met him, and we, he's from Texas, and I'm from Oklahoma, and we talked about college football because that's what you do.
Yeah.
And when we did Mud.
Awesome, by the way.
He's a really interesting cat. But I'll tell you the thing about McConaughey that I witnessed, that I was like, whoa. That you witness, I think, with a lot of really, really big, famous people. There's a kind of a willingness to just completely commit themselves to whatever they're doing in a way that is, it's not that I'm like dragging my, like I'm not really participating in this, when I do it.
Right.
But there is a part of me that feels like it might be commenting sometimes about what I'm doing. Like there's a part of me that might be, like quits a take and is like, what are you doing, dude? Like I don't know that he has that gene.
Yeah.
Like, I don't know that he's got that voice. I feel like he's got the voice that's like, the newspaper. I can fucking read that. I can do that. I can do this scene.
All right.
What is this scene? This scene of this picture of a microphone. I can do that.
Yeah.
And I mean that in like the most admirous of ways.
Absolutely, yeah.
Yeah.
But there is a kind of like go for broke, all in. Nick Cage was like that. I worked with him for 30 seconds.
He seems like a pretty out there dude. I love him, but
he's game. They're fucking game, man.
Wild at heart? Jesus.
Like
leaving Las Vegas?
Yeah,
oh my God. But anyway.
He's got a lot of stuff going on.
Mm-hmm.
All the sort of like the ones that are really big, the sort of Robin Wright, the Kevin Spacey's, dare I say.
Yeah.
His name is verboten.
You can say that here. It's all good.
Does good stuff.
These are people who, I don't know. It's strange. It's like a feeling you get with a person that you're like, oh wow, like this person is all in.
Right.
Like they're all in. And I think that I don't know what that is.
Right.
It doesn't feel like there's a huge conversation going on inside their mind. You know what I mean?
Right on.
And
They're not
I don't mean that in a bad way.
Yeah.
I mean that I think one of the biggest problems that we have, and like certainly in Generation X, like the biggest problem of us is the conversation going on, like the comment. Everything is a fucking comment. Everything is kind of a satire of itself. Everything is ironic. You know what I mean? Like It's all ironic. That was like sort of that fucking song. Everything, which isn't even ironic. Like, by the way, but like all that the irony.
Yes.
Like we lived. This sort of. I love Wes Anderson.
Yep.
But his movies are so ironic. And to me, it sort of like represents a culture. And I have a good friend who's a writer. This guy Adam Rapp. He writes lots of stuff. He's written lots of books and plays and does TV and movies and stuff. And we talk about it. And when he's writing a play, I'm like, you know what? Let's write something that we don't like. Write something that I say you write something. I don't write, but I'm like, I can barely spell my name. Let's try and write something that's like earnest.
Right.
It would be so strange, for us in these times. Something that's like earnest.
That's true. Yeah.
If you like to like talk about this kind of stuff, which is what I think is the best thing about this show. I think it's like, not that you're not great interviewers, you are.
Okay,
you do your research.
Let's not use great.
But what I find most interesting about watching it is when you guys talk to each other about the things that are going on. And it's really about the sort of love of the rock and roll. You know, like, what is rock and roll and where is it? And like, what is going on with it? And like, where is it going? You know, and I think that that's fascinating. Like, when you see like actors on the actors studio or whatever,
I
like
love
talking,
that show, by the way.
Yeah. Like, a lot of it is like, remember when you did that character and remember when you did that character? And it's like, oh yeah, and that's great. And then there's an anecdote about it and that kind of stuff, which we've done a little bit of, which I think is the truth. But if I was watching, what I'm interested in, and maybe it's because I'm an actor, so that's what I'm interested in. I don't care about the anecdotes as much, even though I like them. I want to hear people talk about like, where are we and where are we going? What is this about? Like, what is rock and roll? Where is it? You know what I mean? What is acting? Where is it going? Like, what is this business that we're doing? Like, that's what I want it to be. And so whether you're trying to do that or not, that's what I see when I see you guys like kind of like clashing with you have different styles about it.
Yep.
I mean, you play, you don't. You know, it's like, it's fascinating. So anyway, and I was saying, you guys remind me, when I was like growing up, I grew up in a really small town in Oklahoma, and you know, I was kind of a weird kid. I was like a popular kid, but at the same time, I wasn't that popular. I don't know. It's hard to explain. But I had these two friends who were rock guys. They were the guys in the fucking Kiss shirts and the Ozzy shirts, you know, at school. And they had long hair and stuff, which in Oklahoma is weird. Like, they're the ones that, you know, the movies are about, where the town turns on them and thinks they like murdered the kids out. Right, you know, the thing. Like, that's who they were. And one of them, of course, was like the son of a preacher. Oh, yeah. You know what I mean?
Check.
Run.
I mean, it's the other guy was like obsessed with Rush. I mean, obsessed with Rush. They played Rush. They did like, he would go out in his front yard and like blast Rush and like play his drums like he thought that's who he was. You know, like that's who he was. And I would go over to their house and hang out with them, and we would talk about fucking Don Dawkins. Yeah. And like fucking, you know, because like, you know who was like, because to me, like, I heard about Yngwie from them.
Right on. Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? They're like, the greatest guitarist of all time. They're like Yngwie. We listened to Dawkins and Def Leppard and Rat and Ozzy.
Good.
And fucking, and they were Christian. There was some Christian bands, Stryper.
Petra.
I fucking saw Stryper and Petra in concert.
I saw Petra in concert too. They had a homily or a book reading in the middle of the concert. I was there, dude.
Yeah. Oklahoma City. Only concert I've ever been allowed to go to when I was a little kid, because it was a Christian concert. Yeah. Fucking Stryper was there.
Did they throw a Bible, Stryper?
Well, I wasn't close enough, but they were dressed in fucking yellow and black.
And the drummer was 90 degrees, if I'm not mistaken. Like, he drummed.
What was his name? Michael Sweet?
Michael Sweet. That's the singer. Correct. He's still kicking around.
I pulled that right off the list.
Nice work.
Yeah, it does work. You know,
there was
when you're around him.
There's like one name. There was like one name on an old yellow pad.
I can't believe there's somebody else that knew who Petra was.
Oh, yeah.
You know what? I don't. Yeah. I have never heard that.
Okay. You never heard of Petra? No, Petra was like the biggest. I mean, to me, Petra was like the kind of the big band.
Right.
Yeah.
We used to go to, so we would sit around and we would listen to Rat, and we would listen to like all this stuff, and we would just sit, and you know, we're 10,
right?
You know, 9, 10, 11, and we would talk about music, and we would talk about George Lynch, and we would talk about fucking George Lynch playing that fucking skeleton guitar, and we were just like, I want that guitar so bad, you know. And we would talk about the guitars that we want, and I didn't even play. I didn't even play an instrument. They played. Like, they weren't very good, but they would play a lot of Rush songs.
That's how it starts.
They must have been
good. And they had long hair, and like nobody liked them, and they were so cool. And I loved those guys. Like, I loved them, and I loved, like, we went to this camp, because everything is religious. It's like religious, you know, we're the buckle of the Bible Belt.
Jesus camp.
So Jesus camp. So
how many notches are in that Bible belt?
Many.
How many?
Many. Yeah. So I've been to all the camps, all the camps in that area. We went to one that was in New Mexico.
Wow.
This Baptist camp. I wasn't even a Baptist. Like, the Baptists were hardcore. I was Methodist. We were slightly less, you know, like, went skiing, you know.
Yeah, right.
But the
Laughed.
Baptists, no shorts. Can't wear shorts.
Wow.
Like
That's hardcore.
Girls on this side, boys on this side. You know, they also had this camp called Falls Creek, which maybe had the highest pregnancy rate of like any camp in America because no one was allowed to like hang out with each other. I remember going to, we went to a place called Glorieta, New Mexico, which is kind of near Santa Fe. It was this, you know, week-long camp, that Baptist camp that I went to. And you couldn't have any, you know, we had the cassette tapes. We brought all our cassette tapes with us. And this was like back in the penny cassette tape thing. Did you guys have that here?
Like Columbia House?
Yeah, like Columbia House.
Yeah,
Just
totally.
like
I was a member.
So I was a member, and I would just, you know, for a penny, I could get all these like cassettes.
Yeah, that's right.
And so we bring all these cassettes, you know, to play, and couldn't play any of them. Because this is the Jesus freaks were like, no.
Oh, yeah.
They're like, no.
Black Sabbath,
I'm
the
going to
Judas
tell you,
Priest not going to cut it.
I'm telling you, every single night that we were there, after the counselors had come in and put us all to bed and everything, there was a guy, his name was Derek. I can't remember, he's very short, he was very small. They would turn on, doo-noon, 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 I. And he would come out and he would perform like, you know, just like Ozzy. Like he would like do that weird, you know, like kind of like running around clap. And we like, there was like 25 boys in the thing, just like, yeah. And they found out about it. We almost all got sent home just for listening to like Ozzy.
Wow.
And
I believe it.
But to me, the like hormonal strummings of like heavy metal rock music.
Oh, dude.
When you're like in puberty, like my son tonight had a recital and played, what did he play? He played like Ace of Spades.
Nice.
He played like Ace of Spades, Enter Sandman, and like the solo from Comfortably Numb. Like,
dude,
wow.
Yeah, like those were
what a great selection.
Those are the three things that he's into because he's 11, and he's like, this is the greatest music.
That's the target,
in the world.
Yep.
And his opinion on Greta Van Fleet, by the way.
I'd love to know.
So
this.
I called him and I said I was going to come talk to you guys, and I knew that there was this like, there was a rift. I saw a rift.
He's come my way since.
A bit.
I'm loving this. Go.
So look, I'll take this back just a little bit before this conversation. So I had heard about Greta Van Fleet from my son. He's like sent me a couple of their songs, and I was like, whoa. I was like, this sounds so much like Zeppelin. And I was like, I mean, it's really good. Like they're so good, but it's like, are they a parody band? Like I don't understand what's happening.
Steel Panther?
I was like, is that? But are those Led Zeppelin songs? Like what? Yeah. I'm confused.
Right. Yeah.
And because that's the kind of guy I am. I don't really, you know, I don't know the names of stuff. I don't know the names of songs. I've listened to Led Zeppelin, but I don't have it memorized. So I was out in LA and my buddy Mike Shannon was out there as well. And Mike is like, do you guys know who Mike Shannon is?
Of course.
So Mike,
he's in a band too, isn't he?
Yeah,
you guys are all in bands.
Yeah, his band Corporal.
Yeah.
Uses my drummer and my guitars. Anyway,
he's poaching your band.
That's like Mick and my drummer.
Mine.
Charlie Watts is my drummer.
That's right.
That's just what I call it when it's Mike's. Okay. So anyway, I get in the car with Mike and I'm like, Mike, have you heard this band? I turn on Greta Van Fleet. He listens to a half of the song and he goes, turn that shit off.
Yeah.
He was like, turn that shit off.
Yeah.
And I was like, what? And he's like, nope.
Yeah.
And I was like, okay, wait. There's something going on here. I have to get to the bottom of this. And I was so happy that you guys talked about it.
Yeah.
Because I was trying to understand, like, what is it? I mean, they're clearly talented.
Clearly. Very talented.
I mean, those guys are sick. Like, my son played me a couple of riffs, and I was like, that is just sick. I mean, it is sick. Yeah. That guitarist is sick.
Yep.
However...
Here we go.
There's the but. Yeah.
What is going on there? Why is that okay?
It's not.
I mean, when I used to see stuff like, you know, you see a band, they clearly have like an image that they're trying, like they play one song 100 different ways. You know, they're usually like, they have a costume. You know, they're like, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's kind of a modern thing that like happens. Like I think about, what the fuck, the Strokes or, you know, one of those bands or something like that.
Yeah.
That they have like a thing,
Yeah.
you know, that they do.
Yeah. And I like the Strokes.
Me too.
Yeah.
But what is going on with this band? What's going on with them? Like, I want to know, like, what are the conversations like with this band? Like, to me, that's when they're sitting around, and I agree. I agree with you. You said, look, these guys have been listening to this music their whole life.
Yep.
They love this music. Their dad is like, yes, this is the greatest music that's ever been.
Mm-hmm.
They want to please their father. They love it because it sounds great, because it does. Mm-hmm. And so they're influenced by it, and that's what they play. And then they're really, really good at it. And some record exec is like, yeah, we can sell these like good-looking young guys who can play the shit out of their instruments and sound like Led Zeppelin, but aren't writing. We don't have to pay Led Zeppelin. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like,
Your son
I understand, but for them who are clearly extremely talented,
I agree with
what
that.
are the conversations? Are they so young that they're not having conversations amongst themselves? Surely there's got to be somebody in that band that's going, we got to change.
Well,
we got to
the new
write something
album
else.
isn't quite.
Oh, dude. We can have that conversation.
And like, I bet if you took his voice out of the scenario, he can't help how he sounds. His voice is his voice, but that really is the push over the cliff. He sounds so much like Robert, and it's annoying.
I think,
but I mean, I just think your son's not going to relate to Robert Plant. He doesn't give a shit who Robert Plant is.
Yeah, but here's what's funny.
They're flying the rock flag, and I think it's okay.
But you know what my son said? He goes, I like the songs that they have that don't sound as much like Led Zeppelin.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
He's like, the ones that sound exactly like them. He's like, even he has a problem with it. Like, he's not sure about it. Like, there's a question. And that makes me think that, like, for us who are casually involved with the Greta Van Fleet experiment, who don't think about, I did not think about it today, you know, before I got here or 2 weeks ago.
Right.
Like, they are the Greta Van Fleet experience. That's all they think about. Mm-hmm. What are they talking about?
That would be
when they talk to each other. Because it's not like, oh, they just do it because they don't know how to do anything else. They can do whatever they want. Good point. Those cats can play.
Oh, yeah.
They can do whatever they want.
And I think it's because it's Zeppelin. They're so iconic and everybody loves them so much. Because I could rattle off a bunch of bands that sound like AC/DC and nobody's freaking out.
Yeah. But there was another band you brought up that sounded just like Zeppelin, right?
Kingdom Come.
Kingdom Come.
Yeah.
But they didn't sound as much like
Not
these
as
cats.
much, no.
I mean, this is like I mean, not that they're making fun of them, but it's like they're just trying, they're like, this is our Led Zeppelin song.
Yeah,
over and over again.
Well, I just don't get that worked up about it.
But see, the music was one thing, the singer's another.
Yeah.
But then when they do the videos,
the feathers,
and they, you know, he's got the red eyes like Jimmy did, and Song Remains the Same, and
they love it, Beau.
It's
they
like
love it.
it's, and I get the love affair with it because we all love Zeppelin.
Yeah.
But like I said before the new album came out, I was hoping that it would be nothing like it, and it was everything like it.
Don't you feel like they got this, like, okay,
Time
guys, you get one song. You can do one song.
Right.
Where you can have feathers in your hair and wear a vest.
Hold a dove.
You know what I mean? Like, you get one. You get one. And they can't help themselves. And it's such a shame. Because, I mean, is it a shame? I don't know. Maybe it's not a shame. It doesn't matter.
They're selling tickets and they're playing Red Rocks and
right. It's like when I went to an REM concert one time, like when and I'd been listening to REM for a million years.
There's a band I don't get.
Me neither.
All right.
Sorry.
Let's talk.
But please.
Let's talk about it.
I respect.
Okay, so they put out an album called Monster, which I was not a huge fan of.
Right.
And because I like Green. That's my album. But I go see them in like Nassau Coliseum, which is basically like seeing it in I don't know. It's like somebody's brick building that like just cinder blocks. It's just awful.
Terrible.
Right.
But everybody there was, even I was young, but they were all teeny boppers because that song, that's like all they wanted to hear. They didn't know any of the others. I was standing. I was like,
no, that's Losing My Religion.
Losing My Religion.
I hate both those songs
because Losing My Religion was on MTV or something.
Oh yeah.
So I go to the concert. I'm like down on the floor by myself because I've like gotten a ticket on the train or whatever, and I'm around all these people, and they're playing. They would occasionally play like a song from like an old song, like
Orange Crush,
Tales from Reconstruction or something like that. Like an old, like old songs.
Old. Yeah.
And everyone's like, wow, they're playing all this new music. And I was like, these people don't know, they only know one song. Mm-hmm. And I forget what my story was, but to me that the youth don't know necessarily or care.
Which is too bad. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, but rock and roll bands have kind of like, where are they? Where are the like?
Well, they're around, but there's nobody huge, right? There's Joyous Wolf and Dirty Honey, and they're out there. But I mean,
Rival Sons. I mean, like
Rival Sons is phenomenal.
This is an unbelievable rock band with an unbelievable ability to write songs that don't sound like anybody else. They're their own thing in today's climate. Yeah. It's their own thing. I love them too, man. And they're fantastic, but it's not the same as it was because it's a social media driven pop culture that was not the way it was.
It's just pop and rap now, isn't it?
Yeah, it really is. And that's what gets
Rock's in a valley right now, man. It's rising.
But you talk to music stores and stuff like that, they're trying to sell guitars, but it's effort, it's work.
Which brings us back to Greta Van Fleet. This is good. Kids are buying guitars.
Well, I was going to say.
Well, they are and they aren't, because the problem is that it's too hard to play the instrument, right?
People,
they have an attention span of a gnat.
Right. I'll tell you what, though.
Good for your son.
Yeah. Exactly.
I was on a recital today. There's this cat in New York City, whose name's Rob, and he lets kids play what they want to play. Like my daughter plays the piano and she likes to read music. Like she's 6. And so she thinks it's like fun to like read music. But my son is like he's like, I don't give a shit about
theory.
Fuck off. I don't want to know anything.
Theory of a dead man.
He's like, I don't, like my wife plays the piano a little bit and like we have a like a weighted keyboard and like he'll come in and start playing on it every once in a while and try to pick out a song or something like that. And my wife will say, do you want me to help you with that? You want me to like show you? And he's like, no, I got it. Like he's like that. So there were 6 kids all playing like heavy metal, rock songs, soloing, they're playing guitars. This guy has like cracked the code on how to get kids to like play. Because my son went to a place that was like a music school where he played like Mississippi Hot Dog for a fucking year. It was like boom, 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 boom. And he was like, guitar is stupid.
Yeah.
And I was like, yeah. Because he's like on a nylon string, 3/4 Yamaha.
I can relate to that totally, dude.
I gave him like a beater, like Dan Electro, garbage thing that will not stay in tune. And he plugged that thing in and was like, oh yeah, yep. Yeah. And he's not a kid that spends a lot of time like playing, like doing things like his homework and stuff like that. But he plays that guitar when he's mad. He plays it, you know what I mean?
Perfect.
And all these kids were so good. I was so impressed. There were all these kids playing these, somebody was playing Sweet Child of Mine, which is like hard.
Yeah.
That, it's just like hard.
Dexterity is key on that song, right?
And it's so awesome to like see these kids. And so, thank Christ for those guys. That guy who's like a studio musician,
right?
Who like fucking writes commercials every once in a while and has like a little thing, but he's just great with kids.
Finds that spark.
And he's like, what do you want to do?
Yeah.
What do you want to do? And he's like, yeah, I can teach Seventh Nation Army to like anybody.
Yeah.
Right.
And when they play that, they feel they're like, I'm interested.
That's their smoke on the water or whatever.
Well,
yeah.
you know, it's like
Totally, dude.
It has a lot to do with the teacher. It has a lot to do with the kid, but it's almost like it's got to be that because of the outside influences now for kids.
Yeah.
It's like it's got to be a perfect storm. It seems, you know,
tear them away from the Xbox.
Well, it's just tough because if their buddies don't do it, they don't have that in common. Where before there was more time on your own,
phones,
right?
That's what it boils down to.
I mean,
isn't it?
I think that you know the big as a person who has as a father who has two little kids, you know, who are like growing up in a digital age.
Yeah.
You know, we were talking about like when I started acting, like what was scary was to, you know, these moments of fear of like getting up in front of people and performing and whatnot. You know, phones and YouTube and Netflix and, you know, there's no boredom.
Yeah.
My kids are like, you take the screens away on a Sunday and they're like, what are we doing? Mm-hmm. And if you don't have a plan that involves like, you know, renting a car
what are we doing? Yeah.
And like, you know, going to an amusement park.
Yeah.
Okay, I guess we're going to Six Flags.
With
Wally World.
They're like, oh no, I'm not going to be bored.
That's not enough for me. Yeah.
I mean, and I think that kids are using it, you know, they're addicted to them, but they use them like, they're like a lovey. Mm-hmm. They're like, they prevent kids from exploring stuff. I mean, guitar is hard. Like, you can't just pick one up.
No.
It's not a fucking piano.
No.
It's not singing. You have to learn how to do it.
That's what makes it so great.
And it is not easy. There are like all sorts of, I mean, my experience, I'm like a, you know, Q level guitarist. You know, I'm like a terrible guitarist who can strum and, you know, but I've been playing it for 30 years. Mm-hmm. And there are certainly like moments where you can get better or you get like, oh wait, I now I understand, you know?
Yeah.
But you got to fight. You got to fight through that. And it's not easy.
Yeah.
And these days they can go on Minecraft or they can play that fucker right away. That is going to be something that we have to like figure out. Like as
it's a battle, dude. Every day for me too.
Instant gratification. And my son took piano and it was a fight.
Yeah.
But he just went to guitar recently, like in the last 6 months, which we've talked about this on the podcast, but the instructor I have for him is like replaced Steve Howe in Asia.
Oh wow.
He lives here.
And he lives here in Calgary. His name is Sam Colson. Another shout out.
He's been on the show. You can watch it.
That's a good one. Yeah.
I do like to watch this.
But
you like this one because he plays on the show.
Oh, does he?
Yeah. He's a young British guy.
Oh, dude, he's
that
killer.
Relates to the kids. And my son is, you know, he's gravitated where now he wants to play. And there's nothing more beautiful than walking into your house at the end of a hard day.
Yeah.
And it's not you making that noise. Because normally after a hard day, I'd probably go grab the guitar and try to go to a different direction, or you know how you say when you play angry, you play happy, you play sad, whatever.
Right.
And now this music is coming from his room and it's not me, you know, and it's like that's instant gratification for me.
That's pretty cool.
It's somewhat instant gratification for him to some degree, but it's still hard. And he's still got that pull, like you say with the phone. But what's interesting about the social or the phone, say, is that when I was a kid, I developed my ear right away because I didn't have theory or barely any.
Right.
And you'd sit there and you had all kinds of time to kind of figure it out or play because your buddies were at a Cub Scout meeting and you had nothing going on. You're sitting there, fuck, what am I going to do?
Yeah.
And you grab it, right? where now he can go on and he can get an instant lesson of a song that he wants.
Which is kind of cool.
That's what I'm saying. That's the good and the bad
on YouTube.
of the ugliness of it.
Yeah, my son has there's some dude on the thing. He's like, oh yeah, I got to figure out how to play that. And he's like, there's this guy that like does.
There's kids on YouTube that blow your fucking mind. I don't know if they can write a song, but unreal.
But to keep you captivated by the instrument and being able to do it and get success as little wins, because kids love little wins. That's why they love video games, because they win.
Little wins.
That's right?
That's a good one.
Good name.
Yeah. You know, so I don't know, but I mean, there's good and bad with a lot of things.
It's moderation, but
I just did it for the chicks.
Yeah, me.
Well, of course.
Oh, dude.
I was in college and I was like, wait a second.
Gene Simmons says, if anybody tells you they're not doing it for the pussy, they're lying. They're lying.
I'm telling you, there is nothing like easier than like strumming a guitar.
Right.
I mean, I know we make fun of it.
I agree.
I know we make fun of it. We make fun of like, oh, the guy's got the fucking guitar out.
Here we go.
You know, oh, he's got it out. He's
like a campfire.
And like, no, it works.
Hangs up.
Yeah.
Oh, it works.
Oh, yeah.
You don't even have to be good. You gotta like hit the notes.
Yeah.
But you don't have to be, Satriani.
Well,
And if you sing, it's a double threat.
Oh yeah.
Okay, there's the perfect segue. So you were in a band, cut a couple CDs, and you went on the road opening for Well You Can Tell Us. So you got a taste of that, man. Why don't you tell us about that?
Right. So,
Tell me how much
right,
action
so
you got on the road.
Zero action with these nerds. You got to be in the right band.
The nerd angle.
No, these nerds, no one. No, we. So of course, I mean, the shame of our band was that we were formed out of a play. And there's nothing worse than being an actor band. Like my wife did a show with Kevin Bacon, and I love Kevin Bacon.
The Bacon Brothers.
But the Bacon Brothers, I mean, it's just like, I haven't even listened to them.
I'm sure
I'm sure they're awesome.
Fuck.
But like, I mean, look, John, who's cooler than Johnny Depp? But he's in a band, and I'll never listen to that band.
Oh, that band's pretty good.
I don't care.
No,
I don't care. He's
agree.
an actor. No actor bands. So anyway,
you guys,
wholeheartedly.
We're an actor band. And it's worse than you can imagine, the beginning of this band, which is like most of us have never, I mean, we play, one guy doesn't really play, but the other four of us kind of play.
Right.
And one of us really can play. Like our drummer is for real.
Yeah, oh, that's a good guy to have then.
Oh yeah. No, our drummer is like on another planet. He's from Louisville. This guy Ray Rizzo. He plays in bands still. He's the best. I mean, he can play for anybody. I mean, he's so good because he's not just a drummer. He's a percussionist, and he can sing while he plays. I mean, he looks like and is sort of like he reminds me of Keith Moon. Like he's like a kind of Keith Moon.
He's all over the shop.
He's like all over.
Yeah,
but he can play like little tiny. Like we used to play with Little Tiny Kit.
Mm-hmm.
Like he would bring this, and people would laugh at him because his kick drum was so small, and they're like, "What is this shit?" And then he would get up there and just destroy.
Oh, that's awesome.
So we had one guy that could play, and the rest of us kind of, barely, we would like plug into the piano. You know what I mean? We didn't know what was going on. But we're in this play. It's a great play, actually, that one of the members of the band wrote, this guy, Adam Rapp, and who I've talked about. And in the play, they're like a defunct band that's like taking a lot of drugs. There's like a person that's like hanging in the other room. They've fallen apart in the East Village. Right. And at the end of it, you've just seen these like 4 or 5 guys just like totally just the detritus of their life. And they stand up and they play. And so you finally get to see them play at the end. It's like a rock concert. At the end, it ends with like a kind of medley we used to play, which is a cool idea. Yeah. It's called Finer Noble Guests. It's a great play. So we did it in New York. And when we were doing it, the theater is like, the PR people are like, oh, I got a great idea. Why don't you guys
he goes into Mickey Doyle.
Yeah, right there.
He's like,
I got a good idea.
I got a great idea, you guys. Why don't we?
That's awesome. Can you do the rest of the podcast on that voice?
Yeah. No, Mickey Doyle. Oh, no. No.
Oh, dude.
Oh, no. So they're like, we've got a great idea. We can book you a couple of gigs. to play as promotion for the show.
Oh.
Because we had sort of said, well, we'll try and write like a song or two or something like that for the end. We'll like write a song.
Yeah.
And so we would rehearse all day, and then we would stay in a rehearsal. We actually rehearsed in a rehearsal room, this place called the Salt Mines, which is in Dumbo, that we still have space in. And we would rehearse all day the play. And then when the day was over, we would just stay because we were all single. We would just stay for the next 5 hours and drink and like play in the music. And we loved each other. Like we still do. This they're like they're like my family. I love those guys.
Right.
And so we would stay afterward and we just play and get better, and like it was fun. We had amps and it was fun. Yeah. I mean, as it is. So we have a couple of like horrible gigs, where we play like 2 or 3 songs, like 20-minute set max. This is like all we know. It's like all we know. That is like way
in
more.
In front of chicken wire and
yeah,
stuff?
I mean, it should be. But, New York, there's some bad bands.
Sure.
So we did that a couple of times, and we're basically felt humiliated by the process. However, loved being in the rehearsal room. Like loved it.
Yeah.
Like would go in and play, and we're all very different. Like, our drummer loves soul music and is very that. Our rhythm guitarist he's like lyrically, he's very interesting and totally happy to play. He likes bands like Low and he's strange. And then and then we have sort of like Radiohead Rob, who likes like plays the guitar and does all kinds of weird things.
Right.
And I'm a person who's sort of like, I like to write a song and finish it.
Right.
I like songs that make sense, and a lot of the music that we wrote don't make sense. And so there was this real tension about what we did. So we always had so much fun in the rehearsal room. So we started, once the play was over, we stayed in the rehearsal room together for many months. We would just meet, play. And then we started to play out. And what was funny is we were so ashamed of the fact that we were like a actor band, like a band from a play.
Right.
That we literally would not use a front man. We put our drummer in the middle, in the center. We would turn our backs to the audience and like play almost in a circle to each other. Like we just kind of play like we'd play in the rehearsal room. Like we'd not perform.
I saw a video online of you guys in that same kind of situation.
Who kind of does that, Paul, is Tool.
Oh, yeah?
Maynard, he's not out front. He's in the back next to the drummer.
We all sing, except our bassist who can't play the bass and sing at the same time.
Right.
But that's weird.
All right.
Yeah. Okay. Never heard that.
But we were sort of ashamed of it, and that became like who we were, and we would really go out of our way to kind of be this, I mean, in the style of like that kind of deconstructionist rock, sort of like Pavement style. We were like, fuck this. We don't have to fucking perform for you. Like, we're not going to do that. That's not what we're going to do. We're going to play for each other because that's all it is. We're not trying to get a contract. We're not trying to like get on the road. We're not trying to do anything. We just play because we like it.
Yeah.
Like that was our whole
So the
thing.
name Less the Band kind of makes sense.
Yeah,
now.
it was like less.
Yeah.
Like we don't do anything for anybody.
Right.
We just like what we do, and fuck you if you don't like it. That was like our whole.
Yeah.
That was our whole thing.
It's rock and
so
roll,
we
man.
did that for a year, and then we kind of like we got around to the summer, and we'd written all this music. I mean, we'd written. It culminated in this. So our drummer's like, "Hey, you guys want to go on a tour? Because I can totally like hook us up."
You're like, what?
And we were like, let's do it. We're going to like, yeah. And my wife now, but my girlfriend at the time was like on Law and Order. And she was like, she had money and she was like, I'll totally rent you guys a van. You can just like fucking go. Awesome. And I was like, you're so great.
Yeah.
So we load
awesome
up.
Is that, man?
We load up a van and we like go across. But not only that, we booked some time at Soma Studios, which is like where Wilco like records in Chicago, in Wicker Park, and we're gonna record all these songs we've got, which is basically like a double album. We're just gonna go record it, and the like crowning achievement of what we're doing is we're gonna play this thing called Steinfest, which is in Wisconsin, which is like basically some dude named Stein who does like cleft palates, like in Guatemala or something like that. Okay. Like he's also a he does like boob jobs and stuff. Like he does those too. Like he's like a plastic surgeon.
That tips the scales.
Yeah, it's like I make a ton of money here and I donate it here.
That's all right.
So he throws this huge thing, and he was like,
awesome.
Somehow he's like, you guys are going to come play. And we were like, cool. Yeah.
Cool, man.
And they are going to give us enough money to like go do that it makes sense for us to kind of like put all this tour together and everything. So we go up there, and when we get there, what we realize is they're like, yeah, you guys are going to play for like 3 hours.
What?
Yeah, like
What are you, Springsteen?
Yeah.
Wow, you got a repertoire for that? Yeah.
Like, well, we don't have 3 hours.
No, you got 3 hours.
You know some covers?
Yeah.
I mean, at one point, Rob was up there like playing Green Plastic Watering Can. And I was like, oh no.
God.
I was like, we're in trouble.
Country road.
Who's taking a solo? Who's taking another solo?
So, but, you know, that process, it changed us. Like the going on tour, like changed us like as a band. We started to actually feel like, well, we're kind of a band. Like we played at some places, like we played in Cleveland. So our bassist, you would love his brother's band. His brother, he has a brother who has a band called Amps to 11. And they are like the heaviest, I think they were voted like heaviest rock band in Cleveland. They're fucking sick. I mean, they are crazy.
What goes on in Cleveland, man?
Great.
Rock and Roll Hall of Fame.
That's about it. Exactly.
We show up to play that concert, and we're like, I mean, we're sort of like kind of an effeminate, like weird band. Like, should we really be?
I've labeled you in my notes here, and I'm going to get into that. But I like this.
We're effeminate. That's awesome.
I mean, that's how we thought of ourselves. I mean, we used to say. I mean, this is not something you say now because it triggers people. But we were like, like the gayest band in the land. Like that's who we were.
The effeminate heterosexuals.
I mean, a little bit. You know, we're like weird. We like scream and do weird stuff.
Our show's going to get canceled, by the way.
Who cares?
So we show up, and I promise you, the guy that was like helping us load in, his name was Poop. I shit you not, his name was Poop. They were like, "This is Poop," and he had a huge beard, and he was really angry. And like we thought, this band, you know, Cleveland is gonna eat us. So once you've gone and played, like Cleveland and Pittsburgh, at Gooski's where people don't even sing. You know, the other bands they just roll out amps and they just peep three guys, you know, just playing.
Yeah.
And then we would get up and we're like, you know, and I'm like playing with an Ebo, you know, like they're you know what I mean? Like you think you're gonna get destroyed.
Hey, listen to my tone.
But at the same time,
oh man,
make no mistake about it, we were invested in what we were doing.
Totally.
And at this point, though we still don't really have a front man, we're totally like, we become like a band that tours and doesn't give a shit anymore about anything. Like for real.
Right.
Like we really were like for real. And so we had some good shows like along the way. And it changed us as a band. And then we had an opportunity to do that play again, but in Edinburgh. And that's when we went up and did to Edinburgh. We played. My Morning Jacket was on tour. Ray, our drummer, knew somebody from My Morning Jacket. They said, come open for us and do a couple. We sent them CD board and they'll come open for us and do a couple of shows with us. So we toured with them for a little bit and they were amazing. I mean, that was the Okonokos like tour and that fucking live album is like, it's crazy. It's good. I think it's so good. They were so good. And it's like Jim James is like at his best. Right. Like to me, it's like the height of like who they were. And that was really cool. But you know, I'm an actor.
I was gonna say, in the back of your mind, you knew this was not.
I mean, this was the fight in the band. The fight in the band is like, what are we doing?
Right.
You know, I'm in my 30s. I'm like in my late 30s. What I'm going to do? Like,
is that when you did it?
Yeah.
It was in your late 30s?
I mean, in my mid
to late 30s? Yeah, okay.
Yeah. I mean, we probably started in my early 30s, like early 30s probably is when we started playing. And we were at it until I was probably 40. I mean, I feel like kind of when it started to really wind down was when my kids were born.
Right.
And it just was like, it's just like hard to do it.
That's a different love affair completely.
And nobody else had kids. You know, I was the only one that had kids, but it's like hard for me to.
Yeah, right. You know, you mentioned the van. Have you heard about that new Dave Grohl documentary, What Drives Us?
No.
So it's all about that. It's all about bands starting out in a van, and he has the original Foo Fighters van. He found it and got it and drives around in it. And that's the whole documentary is about that. It's really interesting.
Dude, we were in a minivan, dude.
Yeah.
Minivan, yeah.
They were in a car.
Five guys.
Same type of thing.
Same type of thing.
5 guys in a minivan.
Yeah. So that's what
Our
it's all
drummer
about.
slipped. I cannot even describe to you the position that he slept in.
Yeah.
Because, he didn't drive.
I just like in that doc you're talking about, No Doubt is one of the bands that he talks about.
The bass player was in the doc.
Yeah, was in the doc. And, it's a bigger band. It's like, 6 or I don't know how many was in that band.
Right.
In a little van and a woman in there too, which is already changes.
Smelling all those farts.
Oh my God. It's like, it's a really great little doc series.
Fucking Ringo Starr's in it, man.
All right, so talk some smack about my band.
Well, okay, I'm just gonna.
I thought it was interesting. Is there a Zappa fan in your band? Because I'm a huge Zappa guy, and I could kind of sense this. But anyway,
I got this as my little notes of your band, and just
what do you got?
Okay,
I can't wait.
Reckless and fragile, indie punky, early Pink Floydy, soundtracky, sound designy, garagey, sometimes noisy. Rock with melody, harmonies, and group vocal swells.
Yeah,
right. Did I capture it all?
I think that was actually on the cover of our first album.
That's in the press kit.
Who did the spoken word on "I Want to Know You"?
That's Adam Rapp. That's our writer.
Oh, okay, all right. Yeah. I was curious if it was you because the voice thing.
Time before they came to ascertain your half-life. Renovation lines were rendered and restored. Drew their plans and cut the lesser-known components. Motherboard.
What it was for me is that you guys came by your music, honestly, back to the Greta Van Fleet, where you weren't trying to recreate something that was magical. Right. You guys were just experimenting with sounds, and there's so much kind of noise. I like all the guitar noises and the fret buzzes and the, it's just all that kind of noise pollution that kind of works in a way that works for you. You know what I mean? And
totally.
you weren't trying to sound like anybody else.
I think I feel like the best. I mean that really sort of emulates the comment that was. I feel like the nicest thing that was ever said about us. This friend of mine, Max, he's a British guy, who's an actor as well, but he's also in a band. In this band called Illwex Jesus that I was in for a little while. And Max was like, you know what I love about Les? He goes, you guys sound exactly like what you sound like.
Yeah, that's exactly to the point.
He's like, you're not trying to do...
Right.
You're not trying to do anything. Like every time a song comes on, I'm like, oh yeah, I can totally see these guys were like sitting around and somebody was like, let's do that.
This 40-second little... musical interludes.
Oh yeah, Mike Shannon plays on one of those.
Sleeping on the spine of the dragon.
Yeah, that's Mike. That piano going.
Who's playing the xylophone?
That might have been me. Actually,
is that right? Yeah, because I mean, there's these little flavors, and what it was for me was that it was a really interesting listen to a band that was exploring.
Yeah.
What they enjoyed to explore.
You can hear it, man.
And yeah, totally.
I think for us, we always found an enormous amount of pleasure in like writing to a story. And for us, we had the Robot and the Bear, we had a graphic novel that went with it.
Awesome.
So, I mean, it was just, but I really love that time. It was really for us.
Yeah. You know it.
And I think that was what was enjoyable about it.
What a great experience.
But you had a bad day, apparently, and I want to know...
Paul's bad day.
What happened?
Listen, that's
he had a little too much.
Apparently. I want to know.
I think that the reason that's called Paul's bad day is because when we were writing that song, I think I was in a bad mood. And at some point we're like, wow, you're having a bad day. And that's so we call it Paul's bad day.
Interesting. I I got to say this is that I want to write a song called Morning Wood, but it'll sound nothing like this Morning Wood song that you wrote.
Morning Wood was maybe the first song that we wrote.
Let's get off the
Everybody's got to have a band. That's like I feel like everybody. It's like, you know, in Israel, people are in the army. Mm-hmm. I think everybody should have to be in a band.
Yeah, just for a week, like Camp Rock or something like that, and just
it changes you.
It
man.
does. It must have made you respect these bands. Let's say Aerosmith or a band like that that's together for 50 years. You're with these guys, and you got to get along for an extended period of time, and you're only on stage for, you know, a couple hours. What about the other 22 hours? What are we doing there?
Oh yeah,
like
in a bus.
The grind of it. Yeah. I mean, you got to
it's
love
hard
because
I think you have to like to tour.
Oh yeah.
Know? I think that I'm remain dubious that you can have like a family and a relationship and like do that in any sort of like meaningful way.
How many have worked? Very fucking few.
Very few.
Well,
you know what? Foo Fighters seem to be making it work.
So
I would actually argue that it has more to do with the kind of person that would want to do it, as opposed to the kind of person that does it and just the distance. I think that, you know, people that like to change, like that deal with so much sort of like everything is finite. It's like these small little chunks of life. Right. You know, you do things in these small chunks. You change locations. Everything's changing all the time. It's like you're hardwired to sort of be that way. And so I think it makes it difficult to be like in the long game, which is like a relationship that lasts a long time with kids and stuff like that. I think it's really hard.
I mean, hey, it's a great, like, to your point, it's a human experience that I know was one of the most rewarding things in my life. Right. You know? And it's stuff that is like, I don't have a memory with the marijuana use, but the long-term game isn't affected by marijuana. Right. And those are some fine moments, you know, that'll be.
Do you still talk to all those cats that were in your band?
Well, it depends on which ones.
Well, like I'm talking about the one that you sent me. The
the singer is there was the departure, and it wasn't pretty, and that was the end of that, and that will never be.
It was a good band too.
They were a good band,
but the other guys in the band, we talk on socially and whatever, and. We're not getting together like we would be in this room, once a week at minimum, playing for a few hours. And honestly, that is the soul stuff, because I'm not thinking about anything other than what is being created in that moment. Right.
It is the most instant gratification that I have. I mean, other than maybe sex, it is the only thing I've ever had that is like euphoria in exactly that moment. There's like no waiting around. Yeah. There's no, it's literally like you get in there and you plug in and it can happen. It's a really strange beast that way, because I feel like I've been around creative stuff for a long time. Right. And there's nothing that compares to it. Mike Shannon and I talk about it all the time. It was like, fuck, we should have been fucking rock stars.
Yeah. Do you guys know Billy Bob? Like, I know he is a band.
I did a movie with Billy, and
which movie was that?
It was not a great movie.
Oh, okay.
I didn't see it, but it was about the John F. Kennedy assassination. It was called like, what's the name of the hospital? I can't even remember. This is right. Yeah. Anyway, Billy Bob was in it. Right. And me and Paul Giamatti and Billy Bob, and we spent some time together. He's amazing. The funniest person I've ever
Paul
been
or
around.
Billy?
Billy.
Oh, yeah.
Funniest person I've ever been around in my entire life.
Yeah.
Totally,
he's real, man. He's like right there.
Like he's right there. He's totally peculiar, but at the same time, I think too, like his father was like a basketball coach, I think. And he grew up in Arkansas and in a small town outside of Little Rock, I think. Mm-hmm. And I grew up in a small town in Oklahoma, and it's basically they're the same place.
Sure.
And so we had a lot in common. So I spent a week or so with him, and I really loved him.
Cool.
You know, I feel like he lived in like Slash's old house or something in Beverly Hills. And I think he had to move. Like, I think he told me that, like, he had a daughter. This is the kind of guy Billy Bob was. So his daughter was very young at that time. And he said, you know, she loves chickens. Like, so we have chickens. And he goes, but you know what? You can't have chickens in Beverly Hills. Like, in Beverly Hills, it's like a fucking law against having chickens.
Most municipalities don't want them. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. And he's like, so I had to move to, you know, X place. I don't know where he moved, to Echo Park or something. I don't know where he moved. But he's like, I had to move so that we could have chickens for my daughter. And he's like, and it sucks because, and I don't know if it was Slash, but I think it was Slash. He's like, because I'm in Slash's old house, and he has a recording studio inside his house, and it's amazing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And that was kind of back before everybody and their brother had a recording studio in their house.
Oh, yeah.
Right.
Well, they made it so inexpensive to do it with the digital transformation and everything else, which, before you were just making money, you know, if you had tape, which, you know, it's just, which is
Slash. I was in Sundance. I went to Sundance one time, and I remember walking up and down the streets, and it was before I'd been in any movies or anything. I was just there kind of randomly with a friend of mine back in the mid-90s, and fucking Slash was there.
Ooh, mid-90s, so this is right around when they're unraveling.
No, this is big. Yeah. This is
I've met him once.
He's good. He can play.
Well, he's okay, yeah.
I mean, you know, he's better than I am.
He's a big funny
Slash is a beast on the instrument.
Oh,
I mean, really. You know, you could talk it up to, if Michael Jackson wants to play with you or do something with you, you know, if you're one of those cats, you know, you're okay.
You're probably
He just keeps getting better. That's what's amazing.
Do you think that Michael Jackson would have had George Lynch come play with him?
You know what? I think
he's not flashy enough.
Yeah, and
I love
it's just the fact that he was in Dawkins.
I loved him.
He's in fucking Dawkins.
He's still shredding, man.
I cannot do Dawkins, man.
Why can you not do Dawkins? I've seen you cringe every time I talk about Dawkins.
I can't.
I don't like Don Dawkins on the stage, but I do like. I love Dawkins. Tooth and nail? Come on.
Tooth and nail. When I was
like George Lynch.
When I was in the sixth grade, we used to, I'm not kidding you, play Dawkins and Def Leppard in a fucking big boombox like this. Someone would walk around the playground.
On the shoulder,
just walk with it on his
shoulder. Going to buy D batteries, you know.
Just walk around the thing with like.
Yeah. Oh, dude, I was there.
Oh, what was the meme I saw the other day? It says, if you drum with both hands to any Def Leppard song, you're an asshole.
Ray played with Def Leppard. Our drummer, he played with Def Leppard once, and he told me about his kit, which is crazy.
Yeah.
He's like, his kit is crazy.
Yeah.
Because it's for one arm.
Yeah, exactly. He had to learn how to play that. And they were dedicated to the band, which is always amazing to me. I love that story, man. Yeah.
Def Leppard lost me at like the pour some sugar on me stuff.
Yeah,
like, they lost me. You know, I never went into the whole like Poison.
Yep.
Nope.
I couldn't
Warrant,
do.
nope.
I couldn't do the make. You know, like Kiss was the only band that was sort of allowed to wear makeup. I'm trying to think who else there was.
Well, Alice.
Oh, well, I guess Alice was.
All those bands, but to me, like, I love Rat, and they look the same as all those other bands, but there was something different about their music.
Round and round.
Oh, dude.
Wow, the singer.
Scorpions. We love Scorpions.
Oh, yeah.
God, I love the Scorpions.
Scorpions.
Hey, first concerts, you mentioned REM. Like, what are some of those early concert experiences for you? Like,
you know, I have very few. Petra was one.
Oh, right, because you're in the Christian country.
I was in Christian country.
Oh, my God, I love it.
Chicago 17.
Chicago 17.
Can you imagine?
I love Chicago.
I am the man who will fight for your honor.
Oh, boy. Dude, that was a great band.
Dude, there was 700 people on stage.
Yeah, for sure.
Man, Terry Kath. I don't know who that is. Well, their guitar player died, but That's the early Chicago. It's fucking unreal.
Chicago, dude. The early bands, probably the first concert I went to that I was like, whoa,
yeah,
I'm at something.
Yeah,
was I'd been in New York. This tells a lot about me that I hadn't really seen any concerts, but I was like 21 years old.
Okay,
and I'm in New York, and I went to a concert. I saw like a flyer for a place that was called Tramps, which was this like tiny little place on like 22nd Street or something. And it was Big Star.
Okay.
And I saw Big Star play with, and it was Alex Chilton and his drummer. And then like some goth guy was playing Chris Bell, and, but it was him, and then Yola Tango played with them. Do you know Yola Tango?
No,
that's a very New York band. They're actually a New Jersey. They're very New Jersey band.
Okay,
but for me, Big Star was. It was that was like a big band for us,
right.
And like I loved Chris Bell and I loved Alex Chilton, and during the time when I was liking REM and you were like, we were losing each other, as we were like going apart from one another.
Yeah.
Those like Minnesota bands, like the Replacements and Who's Gonna Do, and not Prince, but I mean Prince is okay.
Prince is okay, yeah, I'd say.
He can fucking play that guitar.
Yeah.
Well, he could play anything.
My God.
But I saw those guys play. I feel like that concert was the first like real concert that I saw, but it was also really up close. It was like in a really small space. Like I saw Susie and the Banshees, which is sort of weird. But I saw like her and Budgie like play in like a little tiny club. And like she was all in fucking black,
sure.
And it was weird.
Yeah.
But I felt like, oh right, like
you're at an event.
This is like something.
Yeah.
Right.
And as far as like big stuff, I mean, I have like a friend who's a friend of the Radiohead stuff. Okay. So I've like seen Radiohead several times, and I've seen Atoms for Peace. His thing. They're pretty remarkable. Like that last concert that they did in Madison Square Garden, which may be the last time that they do stuff as a band. I think probably. Yep. I think they're pretty special. I mean, a lot of their albums. I thought OK Computer was just sort of was like a whole other thing, and I love those guys. Like. It's funny. I think back on the like concerts that I've been to lately. I feel like I saw a My Morning Jacket concert.
Like you live in New York, yes?
Yeah.
Like fuck, if I lived in New York, it would be never ending.
What last time? Well, the only time.
Or Vegas. Like I
saw Kiss.
Yeah.
Because there's always something going on.
But
man.
dude, I'm getting to New York City. I look in the newspaper and I see who's in town. U2's there for a week.
Yeah.
At Madison. I went and saw Beck. That was just of the 18 shows that I could have saw that week.
Radio City, The Beacon. Yeah. I mean, there's so many.
I used to really be into this band. So I was into this guy, Elliott Smith. Do you know Elliott Smith?
Oh, fuck, yeah.
Yeah, that
so
name was...
I saw Elliott Smith.
He killed himself, didn't he?
He did.
Yeah.
Yeah. I saw Elliott Smith at The Beacon, which is a great place to see a fucking show. And
sorry, his music was on Good Will Hunting, right? Is that right?
Yeah, see, that's really crazy. So he'd been like performing around the East Village for a long time, and he was totally fucked up. And then he wrote that song "Miss Misery" or whatever, and like
that's where I got into it.
Won like it won like an Oscar.
Yeah.
Like suddenly, imagine you're playing like Mercury Lounge. On Friday, and then on Sunday night you put on a solid white suit and go play on the Oscars.
Yeah,
like that's the kind of like. Cuckoo, world that
really cool voice
that he was in.
Yeah.
But I saw a band open for him called Granddaddy, which was a California band, amazing. And they were sort of the first of the sort of beardo bands, like back in
Beardo. I like it.
You know, they're like
There's a band name right there.
They're cool. Like I saw those guys play at the Beacon, and then I would end up following Granddaddy around, and I saw them play like a couple more times, and I loved that band. I thought they were really good. You know, and what's his name, Jeff Mangum from. Do you know the band Neutral Milk Hotel?
I don't.
They have an album called Aeroplane Over the Sea, which is. I just think it's one of the most beautiful albums. And he's like he's like in the East Village, and I see him around. It's beautiful. But he also plays for a band that's called like the Silver Jews. No.
Are these guys on Apple Music? Can I stream it?
Yeah. No,
I'm going to check all this shit
on
out.
MySpace.
Yeah, you can just. They're all on MySpace. Which is where our original website was. Fucking MySpace. That was when I was really like involved in the social media. That's when we were on MySpace.
Yeah,
we were on MySpace.
Hey, what was your most recent favorite concert? I'm curious because I know what mine is. Like, say in the last 5 years.
Oh, God. I go to so many, dude.
I know you do. This is why
But the last recent one, just before COVID, I went to see the Aerosmith residency in Vegas. It was fucking unreal. It's fucking unbelievable.
Sick.
Like, 'cause they're planted at the Park Theater, so they can do all sorts of production that wouldn't go on the road, right? So the production was insane.
Wow.
And watching those guys, Steven Tyler's like Mick Jagger. He's a freak. Whatever age he is, who cares? He could have, I don't know, it's a little too late to take him the shirt off. I mean, he's skinny, but everything.
Yeah.
Other than that, I mean, it was amazing. So there's that. I mean, I go to so many, like.
Yeah.
But that's the last one I went to before the shutdown. And it was crazy, man.
I love those guys.
It was just awesome.
Yeah, for me, it was Nick Cave. I couldn't get enough.
Oh, wow.
Nick Cave, yeah.
Like, to get the whole crowd into it, not everybody cheering because they've got this huge repertoire
Red right
of music.
hand.
It was like he's standing in the middle of the audience.
Right.
The lights are on him, and no one is going like this. Everybody's like, just.
And can't sing a note.
No.
Like
can't sing a note.
He's just captivating us. The music on the stage is awesome. Yeah.
It's like Tom Waits. It's just got a character, man. Like
I missed. And I'm so angry about it. I missed Tom Waits at the Beacon.
Oh.
I almost saw that one. Much. We had all the fucking dirt on this thing. Boom, boom. Yeah. And it was what was the name of that album? Dust, Rust. What was it called?
The Mule one? No.
Yes. No, it's not. No, it's not. It's not Mule.
What's he building in there?
Yeah, it's that one. Yeah, what's he building? He's got a flashlight. That one. Yeah.
Oh, dude, that's an awesome album.
I saw a thing that Tom Waits where he did the music for an Alice in Wonderland that was like this weird theater thing. And they had all these instruments that they had made. And it was literally like, it was like violins with like horn bells coming out of them and stuff. I mean, just like cuckoo stuff.
Yeah.
Amazing. I mean, Tom Waits is like the hero. I have a funny story about Tom Waits that is not really my story. It's really a friend of mine's story. So Tom Waits doesn't do interviews,
right?
As we all know, but my friend Trevor, who is just some dude, and who I love, who introduced me to my wife, and is really friends with my wife. He was in Utah, and he used to write like an editorial for magazines and stuff like that. He would do reviews and all this kind of stuff. He's a very funny guy. He used to be an actor for a long time. Anyway, he wrote an article. Like a kind of op-ed kind of article. And it was like 10 reasons why Tom Waits would never do an interview with him. And apparently it was quite good. And
I've seen him on Letterman. Like he does the odd one. But
right. So someone got it to him. They got to him. And somehow they called up Trevor and they were like, so Tom Waits wants to do an interview with you.
Awesome.
No way.
Fucking fantastic.
And he was like, what? And they were like, yeah, he wants to do an interview with you. And he was like, so in 2 weeks or whatever, we'll call you at such and such time. So now he has 2 weeks to figure out what he's going to interview Tom Waits about. Now imagine, this is a person who's like obsessed with him. Yeah. Obsessed. Yeah. Like knows every song, everything, knows everything about him. He's like going to plan it all out, all the stuff, like everything he's going to ask him. He's got all these questions for him. He cannot wait. And really, he's just a fan.
Right.
Like he's like, I'm not really an interviewer. I'm just like somebody who thinks Tom Waits is
like
amazing.
Me interviewing Steven Tyler.
Totally. Totally.
Right. So the day comes.
I can relate to this guy.
So the day comes and they're like, okay, so Tom Waits is going to call you. And at, 6 p.m. So, be by your phone. Okay. 6 p.m. Ring, ring. Hello?
Right on time.
No This way. Is Tom Waits. Yeah. And he was like, I was like, yeah, so, and he kind of talks really fast. He's sort of a nervous guy. And he's like, yeah, so I thought I'd start the interview out with, he goes, I thought I'd start the interview out with a little joke. Right?
Okay.
So he tells Tom Waits a joke. And the joke is this, like, the reason it's relevant to me is because I had told him this stupid joke about how Jesus is at the Last Supper and like, Jesus says like somebody's going to betray me tonight and like go, and so you literally you go around to like all Paul, everybody that's there, and you ask them, is like, is it me? And Jesus is like, no, it's not you. And then Judas, finally at the very end, Judas is like, is it me, Lord? And Jesus says, is it me, Lord? Like that's the joke, right? So he mocks him. Right. So that's the joke.
Mickey Doyle showed up again.
Right. So
what's he doing there?
Right. So he tells him that joke. And he finishes the joke. Total silence.
Oh, dude.
Total silence. And he goes, oh, okay. Yeah. Okay. So then he like asks him a question and he's like, so I wanted to talk to you about such and such and such and such. And Tom Waits says, yeah, I don't really want to talk about that.
Oh, fuck.
And he goes, oh,
okay, next.
Okay. And then he says, I literally like asked him like 3 more questions that he answered like yes or no to.
Yeah. Why do it then, man? Like,
and then he went like this, and he said, and then I went, okay, that's it, and hung up.
Oh God, that's heartmeing, man.
That's that. I thought this was going to be positive, and now I'm feeling sad.
No, God.
No. So I mean, look, I don't mean this in a negative way toward Tom Waits because I love Tom Waits.
Me too.
And I also love this story because I just think that like,
yeah.
What is Tom Waits supposed to do with a person that is like running around with their head cut off while they're interviewing them?
Yeah.
At the same time, maybe Tom Waits doesn't do interviews because he isn't comfortable like exposing a lot of his life.
Yeah.
Anyway, so so then he writes a story about how poorly his interview went.
Right.
And they send it to the Tom Waits people.
Probably hilarious.
And they were like, no.
Oh.
They were like, I don't think it was Tom Waits. I think it was his people. They were like, you can't put that out.
Oh, okay.
And so that was the experience.
Well, it was an experience, I guess.
But
chalk it up.
To me, that's what we were talking about before, about like
coming full circle here.
You look at like, it's like, careful when you meet people and they're just, they're human.
Yeah.
And it's not Tom Waits' business to like take care of you. That's really not, that's not his job.
No.
And I know that we love it when people do.
Yeah.
I feel like I was reading an article. I watch like pro cycling, which is a strange thing to watch. And there was a guy who's won a bunch of races and stuff like that. And he's like Slovakian or Slovenian. And the article was just titled like, don't meet your heroes, but I met my hero and it was awesome. you know, and it was like meeting this guy. And I think that, you know, the guy's like a really nice guy, and he like really took care of this interviewer, and it was amazing. However, I do think that like, that's not necessarily our job. You know, that's not necessarily Tom Waits' job. Right. It's to like take care of my friend who like loves him. And you know what? It's not like he loves him any less. I mean, he listens to him like every day.
Sure.
You know,
just back to the meeting famous people. I've met a few, and I've only had one bad one.
Yeah.
It's Robert Duvall.
Is that right?
Yeah. So I just wanted him to sign my Godfather DVD box set. That's all I wanted.
Yeah.
Hey, Mr. Duvall, excuse me.
Yeah.
And he just fucking shut me down, dude.
Really, eh?
And I'm like, walked away like a fucking schlep. I'm like, okay. I still love The Godfather. But I just thought, you can just do that. But I caught him at a bad time. Who knows?
That's the other thing is that people have days, you know, it's
like you said, he's human.
I mean, I will
he
say
doesn't owe me anything.
I will say this. Like, for me, I've never said no to anybody that's ever asked me pretty much to do anything.
Right.
Except once.
Hello.
I was literally having a phone call fight with my wife in the airport. Like, tried to find like a place, and we're fighting. I mean, I don't know. I have no idea what we're fighting about. We're not still fighting about it.
Yeah,
but at the moment, it's like we were involved in like a thing. And this woman, I could see like slowly moving closer and closer and closer and closer. And
I'm not him.
I'm like, literally, I'm like, hey, listen, you know, sits down next to me.
Oh boy.
And is like,
right.
But you
like,
know
that
what?
is so
but you know
lame,
what? But
dude.
you know what though? I did sign it. I was just like, you know, I'm on the phone, but it's a weird. It's but it is a weird
type of people.
But it's a weird thing. I have it too. It's not confusing for me, like what people go through. I feel the same thing. If I'm like in the movie theater and I look over and there's, you know, I don't know, Liev Schreiber or somebody like that.
Sure.
I'm like, oh, hey.
Yeah, but not while he's having dinner. Like, there's a time and
But
place.
I understand the feeling of like, wow, there's something special in the room with me.
Right.
You know, and for different people, it's different thing. And like,
and an opportunity.
When am I going to have this chance again?
Exactly.
I mean, it's very different than, you know, every time you walk out of like, you do, like there are places in New York where you do interviews and there are people that just like hang around and they take pictures and they have 20 pictures from like everything that you've done and they just want you to sign it or whatever. And those people like sell that stuff. I mean, I don't know who they sell it to.
It's on eBay.
It's on Kijiji.
I'm like, okay, good luck.
Yeah.
But you know, I there's a part of me that feels a little bit less like, oh, this is a person that really actually cares who I am, you know, or like,
right.
Whereas if somebody stops you, like in the coffee shop, and is like, hey, I know who you are. Like, and that's weird. That's like weird for both of us.
Right.
You know?
Yeah.
I get
now
it.
it's the picture, right? Everybody wants.
But that's what it is. You know?
Yeah,
but isn't that price of the fame too, though? Like we've talked about this a little bit too. It's like,
you know, I do feel like it kind of is.
Of course it is.
Of course it is.
They pay people. I mean, Robert Duvall makes money.
I bought that.
Fuck yeah. And he got a piece
I went to a lot of his movies.
And he got a piece of it. And you know what? Like, he's made money and like he may feel like he doesn't have any, you know, that it's not him, you know, like he didn't ask for it or whatever.
Yeah.
But I mean,
but the rest of them are great. Like,
back to full circle. If you want to be a celebrity, if he didn't want to be famous, he wouldn't be.
Like, as arrogant as Gene Simmons is, I met him a couple of times and hung out with him at length. Couldn't have been fucking nicer.
He seems like a nice guy.
He really, and I wasn't a chick because that'd be a whole other can of worms you're dealing with. But for me, he was fantastic, dude.
Yeah, I like him. I like Gene Simmons. He's smart.
Absolutely.
Yeah. I mean, he's not that other.
He's
not
smart,
Nugent, right?
But he's
I
also
love Ted's music though.
Oh, but God, what has happened to Ted Nugent?
I don't listen to him.
Yeah.
Speak, I mean.
Yeah.
Jesus.
Those records, though, it's hard to deny it, right?
God, Stranglehold. I don't care.
But you know what I don't like about Ted Nugent?
Oh God, that's a long list, isn't it?
Yeah, there's many things that
Are we
don't
going to
like
talk
about
about the
Ted.
nude?
No,
We're going to finish with the nude.
All right.
Okay, let's finish
close
with
it
the
out.
Ted.
I'm not going to talk about his music. I'm not even going to talk about his politics.
Yeah.
Okay.
I don't like that hat. That skinny
The
hat.
Amboy Dukes kind of
I don't
thing.
like it. It's not my
That's
thing.
just recently, yeah.
I don't.
Well, you've been on a horse lately, so you want the full 10-gallon thing going on.
Listen,
That's right.
Dwight Yoakam.
I'm picking on you.
I'm totally
I love
okay.
Dwight Yoakam.
I'm totally okay with Dwight Yoakam.
Yeah.
He can do whatever he wants.
Speaking of-
the skinny pants, the
Little sister.
love it.
And a great actor. There's a guy who did
Oh,
the shift.
yeah.
Fantastic.
Love
Fucking
him.
Panic Room? Sling Blade? Come on.
I'm all about Dwight Yoakam.
Okay, man, we've kept you long enough, I think. Hey?
Hey, yeah, I'll be back.
Are you out
Not
of
a
scotch? I'm out of beer.
I'm totally.
You're
I'm
out of
totally,
rum?
Totally empty. The next time I come, I'm not going to say anything. I'm just going
You're
to.
just gonna watch?
I'm going to watch.
Watch
and
us
listen
duke
to
it
you
out?
guys talk.
I don't do well with an audience, man.
Why you would?
I'm just kidding.
I'll support you.
I'm just kidding.
I'll support you.
I'll support you both because
Oh
I
my
can
God.
kind of agree with both of you.
Fuck, it was great to have you on,
Yeah.
man.
Yeah,
It's really,
anytime.
Okay,
really
enjoy the
great
rest
to
of your
know you.
summer here in Calgary, man.
I will.
How much
right.
longer you got?
About 2 months.
2 months.
Yeah.
All right.
We'll be seeing you again, I'm sure.
Oh, yeah.
Right on, man.
We'll throw
Well,
you back.
to you, brother, for coming in.
Yeah.
Empty
Cheers.
glass.
Cheers
Empty
on an
glasses.
empty
I
glass.
think that's safe.
I've got just a swallow.
Oh, boy.
All right, thanks a lot, man.
Right on.
Okay, we're out.
Bye.